Chapter 1447. The time realm was shattered, and immortal light soared into the sky like clouds, illuminating the entire greater thousand world. Even the three realms of yin and yang could see this shocking scene. More than a dozen immortals flew through the air, all of them calling out, "Boss," some of them calling out, "Master," and of course, there was no lack of, "My man." Jiang Chen looked at the group of people without any excitement. Instead, he blushed slightly and muttered, "Am I the weakest again? Immortals? How can there be so many Earth immortals in the lower realm?" The original Sikh widened his eyes in disbelief. Even the invincible warrior and the lamp bearer were dumbfounded. What kind of world is this? What happened to the greater thousand world in an era where the great Tao is not present? How come there are so many Earth immortals? It's those little guys from the ancestral court. These little guys broke through in the time realm? They became Earth immortals? After a few breaths, everyone came to their senses, but they were even more shocked. Even though the time realm was different from the outside world, the era was still the same. In this era, it was not easy to become an Earth immortal. This was not something that could be achieved by accumulating time. It required enough talent, qualifications, and even opportunities. And now, the group of young people from the ancestral court had become Earth immortals. What kind of followers and disciples did this guy bring with him? Why are they all so abnormal? While everyone was still in shock, the group of people from the ancestral court had arrived. They stood behind Jiang Chen and looked at Jiang Chen, who was suppressed on the ground, with faint smiles on their faces. Jiang Chen blushed slightly and stood up after a few coughs. He glared at them and said, "What are you looking at? Isn't it normal to be suppressed?" Yes. It's normal. Master is just tired, so he's lying on the ground to rest for a while," the crowd said with a smile. They were trying to save face for Jiang Chen. However, there was always a silly guy, such as Jiang Lu, who said at this moment, "Boss, it's okay if you can't beat them. I'll help you take revenge." As soon as this was said, the group of people smiled bitterly, and Jiang Chen's face turned red. "You can do it. Are you the only one who's not blind? Can't others see that I can't beat the original seat? Do you have to say it out loud? Jiang Lu, I'll leave this matter to you. My body has been weak recently, so it's not suitable for me to fight." Jiang Chen patted Jiang Lu's shoulder and said, "I'll give you a chance to prove yourself." "Good." Jiang Lu was indeed very naive, but sometimes the things he did surprised people. After nodding solemnly, he raised his arm and shouted, "Brothers, he's very strong. Let's gang up on him." At this moment, not to mention Jiang Chen and the others, even their original seats were a little messy. "What are you guys doing? So many land gods attacking me? Just you wait." Yuanzhou was not stupid. Although his cultivation was far more powerful than Earth God Lu, there was no way he could fight with so many Earth gods at the same time. After all, this was the lower realm, and the source of his power was different from his own. He couldn't use his full strength. "Old man, stop running. You want to run after hitting my boss? It's not that easy." Jiang Lu and the others swarmed toward Yuanzhou. Their immortal qi was so violent that it looked like a group of immortals were dancing wildly. In the midst of the violent immortal qi, Jiang Lu and the others were very decisive in their attacks. They threw their hands and feet at Yuanzhou. In just half an hour, Yuanzhou couldn't take it anymore. His body was almost knocked out, and even his glabella was torn by the immortal qi. "Sacrifice. Otherwise, we'll all die." Yuanzhou was enraged. He stared at the dark man and said, "What are you waiting for? If I die, you won't be able to live either. If we both die, the ancient realm will be extinct." "Yes, Yuanzhou." The dark man didn't hesitate at all. Even if he died after the sacrifice, he wouldn't hesitate. Just as Yuanzhou said, they were the last two living beings in the ancient realm. If Yuanzhou died, he wouldn't be able to live either. By then, the ancient realm would be extinct. Buzz! A tremor came from the dark man's body. Then, his entire body burned, turning into rays of divine light, runes, and a black river. All of this poured into Yuanzhou's body. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion, and there was even the rumbling of the great Tao. Yuan's aura was constantly rising, as if he was about to break through the shackles. His hair was dancing wildly, and when his eyes opened and closed, the sun and moon were annihilated. Retreat. He has surpassed the limits of this plane. Zhou Kunlun sighed. Things are destined. The three worlds will be destroyed. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Jiangchen and the others couldn't help but become gloomy. They knew that Zhou Kunlun wouldn't lie to them. Then, what was certain was that Yuan's current strength was already invincible in this plane. No one could stop him. Of course, Zhou Kunlun could definitely suppress Yuan's will. But Zhou Kunlun had his own principles. He only cared about the immortals in the heavens and didn't care about the mortals in the lower realm. Senior, you really can't save the three worlds? Jiangchen asked. Everything has an order and rules. Zhou Kunlun sighed and said, Perhaps this is fate. If you make a move, the three worlds will be saved. Jiangchen said, What order, what rules, what fate, these are all used to be broken. Many people in the world would agree with Jiangchen's words. But at Zhou Kunlun's cultivation level, he naturally saw more and further. He had long seen a corner of the future, so he was unwilling to make a move. The future is a fog. I don't know black and white, don't ask about light. This is all I can do. Zhou Kunlun sighed and said, Of the 6 seeds, 2 have already ascended. Even if the remaining 4 die, it's fine. Hearing this, Jiangchen was also quite helpless. 6 seeds, protected for so many eras. In the end, only 2 were chosen? No. Perhaps in Zhou Kunlun's heart, it was fine as long as one of the 6 seeds survived. What are you excited about? You're not one of the 6 seeds. At this moment, Unrivaled Warrior walked over with a dark face and looked at Jiangchen angrily. The moment he said this, Jiangchen was stunned. Even the others were dumbfounded. What was going on? At this point, everyone guessed that Jiangchen was also one of the 6 seeds. But Unrivaled Warrior's words. Junior Lin Woody greets the Guardian. Unrivaled Warrior looked at Zhou Kunlun, lowered his head, and cupped his hands. Successor disciple of the 10,000 Vehicle Immortal Lord, Lin Woody. So you still remember your identity. I thought you had long forgotten who you were. Zhou Kunlun narrowed his eyes with a faint smile, but there was still a hint of anger in his eyes. How does it feel to be invincible in the lower realm? Is it because you are invincible in the lower realm that you can forget the blood feud with the 10,000 Vehicle Immortal Lord? Chapter 1448. Back then, the Rotten One had asked the Unrivaled Warrior if he had been to the celestial world. The Unrivaled Warrior had given an affirmative answer, yes. However, they did not expect that not only had the Unrivaled Warrior been to the celestial world, but he was also one of the 6 seeds of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. He had never told anyone about this, not even the Demon Emperor and the others. After Zhou Kunlun appeared, he did not even mention Zhou Kunlun. It was as if he had forgotten the Unrivaled Warrior's identity. Now, the Unrivaled Warrior had revealed his identity. Facing Zhou Kunlun's doubts, the Unrivaled Warrior's expression was rather calm. Because to him, whether it was the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect in the celestial world, the ancestral realm in the lower realm, or even the upper-class world, they were all worthy of his protection. The reason why he had not ascended to the celestial world was because he was worried about the ancestral realm and the upper-class world. Humans had feelings, and the Unrivaled Warrior was the same. He looked at Zhou Kunlun and sighed. Guardian, if you are willing to help, I will ascend to the celestial world. I said before, I only care about the immortals in the heavens, not the mortals in the lower realm. Zhou Kunlun said. The matter here is up to you. Boom! While the two of them were talking, the Unrivaled Warrior attacked again. With a push of his palm, Wakako and the others were sent flying. Blood splattered along the way, and Immortal Chi collapsed. There was no doubt that the Unrivaled Warrior was too powerful and had broken through the shackles of the lower realm. His strength could be said to be invincible here. Boss! Run! Don't worry about us. At this moment, Wakako and the others were still holding on. They knew that if this continued, they would undoubtedly die, but they were unwilling to retreat. In their eyes, their own life and death did not matter, but the boss in their hearts had to live. This was their belief, and also their belief. Where can I go? If all of you die, what's the point of me living alone? Jiangchen sighed in his heart, and stood in place without moving. He felt very powerless, helpless, and even desperate to the extreme. Facing the unrivaled warrior's terrifying strength, Jiangchen could not defeat him even if he used all his methods. He could only watch as Wakako and the others bled and fought for their lives, but he could not think of a way. Rise from defeat, new life from despair. Do you want to live on? Suddenly, the drop of essence blood in the depths of Jiangchen's soul began to burn. Within the blood essence, runes began to jump about and chains began to slide about. It was as if a door was manifesting. A stalwart man appeared in Jiangchen's mind, looking at Jiangchen with a faint smile. Jiangchen's expression was calm. He communicated with the other party through his consciousness and asked, "How should I survive?" "You are yourself. You don't need to reject anything. Open your heart and accept your inner self. Then you will be able to continue living," the man said softly. When Jiangchen heard this, he didn't have any thoughts. His mind went blank, and he muttered, "Open your heart and be yourself." 1. In a few breaths of time, the entire world shook. In a dilapidated mountain range, a coffin soared into the sky, and a corpse broke through the air. As if it was attracted by something, it flew in the direction of the Great Thousand World. At the same time, on the road to the Yellow Springs, Tianzong and Tianhong smiled at each other, and their bodies turned into specks of light rain. The light rain broke through the realm wall, tore the road to the Yellow Springs, and also flew in the direction of the Great Thousand World. At the same time, in the ancient Netherworld, the moon god looked at a violently shaking bronze coffin in the ancient Netherworld, and a smile appeared on her peerless face. She opened the bronze coffin, looked at the man inside, and said softly, "You're finally back." As soon as she finished speaking, the man inside the bronze coffin disappeared. He tore through the void and turned into a stream of light. At this moment, all around Jiangchen, tens of thousands of spells appeared. Tens of thousands of Daos turned into auspicious signs and fell. There were even great Daos that were like the sun, the moon, and the stars. The spells gathered, and the rain of light filled the air. A few physical bodies descended and turned into a rain of light that entered Jiangchen's body. At this moment, the drop of essence blood exploded, and the spells trembled. Memories surged into Jiangchen's mind like a torrent. His aura continued to soar, and his cultivation continued to break through. Extraordinary, broken road, broken end, until finally, an immortal fate condensed, and all spells returned to one. Boom! At this moment, Jiangchen opened his eyes. At that moment, the world seemed to have changed. All spells returned to their positions, and all Daos appeared together. Myriad transformations! The son of the myriad chariot, the one who inherited the myriad character immortal fate. That man, he's back! At this moment, not only the lower three realms, but the entire immortal world was alarmed. The older generation of the immortal world knew very well how terrifying the myriad chariot immortal lord was. However, they also knew that the myriad chariot immortal lord was the myriad transformations. His talent and aptitude were rare throughout history, and he was the #1 person in the immortal world during the Three Immortals era. When such a person returned, he would definitely rise with unstoppable momentum. He's back! If he ascends, the immortal world will be in chaos. After 10 reincarnations, he's finally back. In the lower realms, many people sighed and sighed with emotion. Some people even had tears in their eyes. They'd been waiting for this day for a long time. Yuanzhua let go. At this moment, Jiangchen looked at Yuanzhua. With a wave of his hand, a series of obscure light beams appeared and captured Jianglu and the others to his side. Then, he pointed his finger again, and the myriad transformations heavenly lamp appeared. A sword ray seemed to fall from the sky and hung upside down on Yuanzuo's head. The sword was dazzling, and the qi was condensed. The sword hung there without falling, but it made Yuanzuo extremely frightened. If the sword didn't fall, it was the most fatal. Myriad transformations. Go back to your immortal world. What happened here has nothing to do with you. Yuanzuo said in a deep voice. You're originally from the immortal world. Why are you meddling in the affairs of the lower realms? Hearing that, Jiangchen shook his head and said, Although I'm from the immortal world, I'm also from the 6 realms, the divine realm of the 9 heavens, the ancestral realm, and the boundless world. Reincarnation is just a kind of comprehension and experience. What's the point of the disputes in the world? A bright flower will eventually wither. Why are you so persistent? So what if you have the power of darkness? You have your own heart. Why do you have to kill again? As he said that, the Tao light in the myriad transformations heavenly lamp shone like a snow-white dew, drowning Yuanzuo. Yuanzuo roared angrily. The power of darkness in his body was rioting, but he couldn't break free. I forgot to tell you. I've always been me. My name is Jiangchen. Jiangchen said in a low voice. He glanced at where he had been sitting, then looked at Ruo Xiao and the others with a smile. He touched his nose and coughed softly. He said, I'm still your boss. Boss. Master. Wakako and the others were very excited. They were indeed worried that Jiangchen would change after his return. But now, it seemed that their boss was still the same boss, and their master was still the same master. Even if he had returned, nothing had changed. Chapter 1449. Jiangchen hadn't changed. Their previous worries were unnecessary. After returning, he only had the memories of his previous lives, and at the same time, he had the cultivation of his previous lives. As for his soul and thoughts, they hadn't changed. At this moment, he looked at everyone with a smile. The unruly smile on his face gave people a bad feeling. Scammer! He's still the same. He's always been a scammer. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. If the returned Jiangchen wanted to scam people, how much of a scammer would he be? Myriad transformations! Let me go! At this moment, Yuanzuo roared angrily. The dark energy in his body changed, and even his soul was burning with divine flames. He felt that he had lost something, but he couldn't explain it. I'm saving you, Jiangchen said softly. Born in the light, why do you need to use the dark energy? The Dark Moon clan is born with the dark energy, but you're not. Return. The myriad transformations heavenly lamp kept burning and surrounded Yuanzuo. The dark energy in his body was constantly being refined and purified. After a long time, when the flames on Yuanzuo's body disappeared, the darkness in his eyes also disappeared. When his eyes opened and closed, they were bright and clear, without a trace of impurities. You've been purified just like me, the lamp-bearer exclaimed. He looked at Yuanzuo excitedly and asked, How do you feel? Yuanzuo didn't speak. He stood quietly and looked down at the void. That was the plane of the ancient world, his home. Now, the ancient world was destroyed, and everything disappeared. In the whole world, only he and the lamp-bearer were left. He still didn't speak and kept silent. After a long time, Yuanzuo raised his head and looked at Jiangchen. He also didn't say a word. The next moment, Yuanzuo stood up and stepped on the path of immortality. When he walked to Zhou Kunlun's side, he couldn't help but ask, If I ascend from the lower realm, will you still protect me? Of course. Zhou Kunlun nodded. If I want to destroy the celestial realm, what will you do? Yuanzuo asked again. Regardless of life or death, Zhou Kunlun said softly. You want to avenge the ancient world, yes. But if you're killed because of this, I won't avenge you. Enough, Yuanzuo said softly. Finally, he walked past Zhou Kunlun and reached the end of the path of immortality. Then, a rain of light covered the sky. The origin sea descended, taking a step out, entering the immortal realm. Yuanzuo! Die, you evil remnant of the ancient world! We don't care if he's T. But you. Suddenly, Yuan's SSS Immortals T was TT. Who would have thought that after entering the immortal realm, his cultivation would be completely unsealed? When he was in the lower realm, his cultivation had always been suppressed because of the plane. TTT his TSS realm. A terrifying aura exploded forth, followed by a series of miserable shrieks. Following which, the stench of blood wafted out from the gate of immortality. Cheat this aura, what realm is it? Everyone exclaimed. Immortal lords. Zhou Kunlun said softly. His is enough to fight against an immortal king. I don't need to protect him. Even so, Zhou Kunlun still opened his mouth. He looked towards the heaven gate and shouted. Whatever this old man says, I must keep my word. He ascended from the lower realm, so he's the one I'm going to protect. Don't blame me for being merciless if you dare to attack again. As soon as he said this, the immortal realm immediately quieted down. They knew Zhou Kunlun well. He meant what he said. "'Tis," Zhou Kunlun said. "The power of darkness in his body has been purified. He won't pollute the celestial realm anymore." This time, there was no more sound from the heavenly gate. After a few breaths, Yuan's voice came from the celestial realm. "I've let down the three great worlds." Only now did everyone understand that Yuan's had left without saying a word. It wasn't because he didn't want to speak, but because he was embarrassed. After all, he wanted to destroy the three great worlds. After the power of darkness in his body was purified, he had returned and remembered what he had done. He didn't have the face to face everyone, so he left without saying a word. Now, he was separated by heaven and man, so he had to apologize. "Wait for me in the celestial realm," Jiangchen said softly. Then, he sighed and looked at everyone. It's finally peaceful. But everyone knew that the peace was only temporary. The real journey had just begun. Jiang Chen's return was naturally to the celestial realm. His father, Wan Qing, was still suppressed under the Kunlun celestial mountain. Back then, the Wan Qing immortal sect also needed him to restore its glory. His enemies from back then also needed to be dealt with. His old friends also needed to meet and reminisce about the past. The so-called peace was just the peace of the three great worlds. The 9 of you have caused trouble for so many eras. Now that I've returned, don't you have anything to say to me? At this moment, Jiang Chun looked in the direction of Yang Three Realms. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, with a trace of evil charm. As his voice fell, 9 beams of light rushed over from Yang Three Realms. They passed by Jiang Chun without even saying goodbye. Then, the 9 beams of light rushed onto the immortal road. Without saying a word, they directly entered the celestial realm. Only after entering the celestial realm did the voices of the 9 great ancient spirits spread. "Myriad transformations! We won't be wrong! You're very powerful, but so what? The celestial realm is vast. If you have the guts, come to the celestial realm and find us. Want us to apologize, want us to repent? Impossible! Ha! The 9 great ancient spirits ran away just like that. They were really afraid of the returning Jiangchun. Now they could only clamor in the celestial realm. Double quotes. These guys. Jiangchun smiled bitterly. One day I'll subdue you. In the end, Jiangchun brought everyone back to the ruins of the ancestral court. With his current cultivation, rebuilding the ancestral court was only a matter of seconds. Boss, what's your cultivation now? Half a day later, in the main hall of the ancestral court, a group of people surrounded Jiangchun. They were all extremely curious. Me? My cultivation is still the same as when I first reincarnated, Jiangchun said softly. Like you guys, it's the lowest realm after becoming an immortal. Ah? That's impossible, right? If that's the case, then why did you always reincarnate? Wakako asked in confusion. Naturally, it's to avoid them. Jiangchun pointed to the top of his head and said, After my first reincarnation, Zhou Kunlun also came down, but he was seriously injured at that time and didn't have the ability to protect us. Therefore, I chose to reincarnate to avoid the pursuit of the celestial realm. Double quotes. Now. Zhou Kunlun has reappeared, and I've also returned. Those guys in the celestial realm should be worried about themselves. Chapter 1450. When the 6 of them went down to the lower realm, it was only because the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord was suppressed, and Zhou Kunlun was seriously injured that they had no choice but to do so. As for Jiangchen, because of the pursuit of the immortal world, he had no choice but to constantly reincarnate. Now, Zhou Kunlun had recovered to his peak, enough to deter the immortal kings of the immortal world, so Jiangchen no longer had any scruples. With the agreement made between Zhou Kunlun and the immortal kings of the immortal world, he had plenty of opportunities to grow in these 1,000 years. After these few great upheavals, the great 1,000 world has been damaged. You guys stay here to rebuild the great 1,000 world and lift the curse of the ancestral realm. I'll go to the immortal world to explore. In the end, Jiangchen gave a lot of instructions and even brought back everyone on the Yellow Springs Road. 10 days later, under the gaze of the 3 worlds, Jiangchen stepped forward and finally stepped onto the immortal road. Along the way, when he came to Zhou Kunlun's side, Jiangchen nodded slightly and asked, "Are you protecting the 10,000 vehicle immortal sect or the creatures of the lower realm?" "It's the same," Zhou Kunlun said. "Of course, in my heart, the 6 seeds are nothing. You are the key." "Oh? So, you've been waiting for my return?" Jiangchen asked. "I've been waiting for you," Zhou Kunlun said softly, staring at Jiangchen with burning eyes. After a few breaths, he slowly spat out 2 words. "Young master. It's enough to have your heart. In 1,000 years, no one knows who will rise. Perhaps, the immortal world will change because of me," Jiangchen said. With that, Jiangchen continued to move forward, with his back facing Zhou Kunlun. "You are the gatekeeper of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, but my father is suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. In the future, if I become an enemy of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, what will you do? Since you can guard the door, you can naturally destroy it," Zhou Kunlun said. Jiangchen heard this and nodded. He didn't say anything more and didn't ask anything, because Zhou Kunlun's words were enough. In the end, Jiangchen took a step and came to the end of the immortal road. The celestial gate opened and a ray of light flashed like a vortex. At the same time, Jiangchen's figure disappeared from everyone's sight. "Boss has finally ascended. That's not called ascension, it's called returning. Now that boss has returned, do you think those people in the celestial realm will have a headache? After all, boss has always been such a troublemaker." Jiangchen, Wakako, and the others gathered together. They weren't worried about Jiangchen at all. Instead, they were worried about those who had a grudge against him in the immortal world. In their eyes, Jiangchen was still Jiangchen. He was still that boss who could sweep through all 4 directions and suppress all eternity. Myriad transformations! After Jiangchen entered the immortal realm, he was greeted by a majestic mountain range. Around the mountain range, immortal chi rose and drifted like white fog. Beneath his feet was an altar. This altar was the celestial gate that connected to the lower realm. The moment he walked out of the altar, exclamations sounded one after another. Some people even revealed killing intent. Some killing intent even turned into tangible rays of light, like sharp swords and blades. The corners of Jiangchen's mouth curled up slightly, and he looked around. When he saw those unfamiliar faces, Jiangchen couldn't help but be taken aback, and he asked, "Aren't the 3 great immortal kings' disciples here?" After saying that, Jiangchen shook his head in disappointment and sighed. "In this era, the 3 immortal kings' sects have declined? Myriad transformations! Don't think that you can be so arrogant with Zhou Kunlun backing you. You only have 1,000 years. Back then, the fate of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect will be your fate. In the end, you will be suppressed and even killed like your father, 10,000 Mounts." Around him, many people were angrily rebuking. Some of their words were very unpleasant. "Everyone, I am just an immortal with the lowest cultivation in the immortal realm." Jiangchen chuckled. Within 2 realms, you can attack me as you wish. As soon as these words came out, a few people immediately rushed over and stopped 100 meters away from Jiangchen. They sized up Jiangchen. Are you sure? We won't bully you either. 1-on-1, if you win, you can leave here today. If you lose, you will leave your life here. These young people were aggressive. The meaning of their words was clearly to kill Jiangchen. Oh? Just a few true immortals. Can you kill me? Jiangchen joked. The realms in the immortal realm started from the lowest immortal. Above that was true immortal, golden immortal, heaven immortal, divine immortal, immortal prime, immortal monarch, immortal king, and even immortal emperor. In the history of the immortal realm, there was only one immortal emperor, but he had disappeared for several eras. Now, immortal king was the strongest realm in the immortal realm. For any cultivator, the gap of one realm was like a chasm that was difficult to cross. Even a genius might not be able to do it. Now, Jiangchen had just returned. These people really couldn't figure out what qualifications did Jiangchen have to challenge a true immortal. 10,000 transformations, you were indeed very strong, and your talent was known as rare, but now, you have just returned. A mere immortal dares to challenge us. If you dare to accept the challenge, we will kill you today. Several true immortals were clamoring, and their words were very unpleasant. Especially one of them, a young man who claimed to be a disciple of the 10,000 Arts sect. With an arrogant look, he hooked his little finger at Jiangchen and said, "Come here, accept your death." 10,000 Arts sect? The sect of the 10,000 Arts immortal king? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and jokingly said, "Just as well, I have just returned today and need to make an example out of you. You are the most suitable. Arrogant. I am a true immortal, and you are just." The young man was still clamoring, but before he could finish his words, he saw a bright sword light cut across the sky. Under the sword light, blood sprayed out. The young man from the 10,000 Arts sect widened his eyes, and his throat made a sound, but he couldn't say a word. Plop! After a few breaths, the young man's head was separated from his body. When his head fell to the ground, the sound of it was extremely harsh. So what if you are an immortal? Today, within the 2 realms, whoever dares to make a move, I will kill them all. Jiangchen's eyes flashed coldly. He knew that many of the people around him were from the 3 immortal king sects. At that time, the main culprits who persecuted the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect were the 3 immortal kings. Interesting. Suddenly, a breeze blew, and the white clouds in the vast sky dissipated. A young man holding a white folding fan, riding a giant golden bird, landed in the distance. His face was like a spring breeze, very gentle, but there was a trace of coldness and killing intent in the depths of his eyes, which made people feel cold. "Now what should I call you? 10,000 transformations? Or Jiangchen?" the young man asked with a smile. He opened his folding fan, and the word, Jun, was written on it. "It's Jun Qiong, the number 1 disciple of the 10,000 Arts sect, 34th on the human list of the northern region. Jun Qiong!" Exclamations sounded from all around, and the identity of this person was revealed. Chapter 1451. The immortal domain was vast and boundless, and the known world only occupied 1/10 of the total area of the immortal domain. However, even if it was only 1/10, it was still much larger than the other worlds. In the immortal domain, it was harder than ascending to heaven to be able to squeeze into the ranking list in a region. The vast immortal domain was currently divided into 4 major regions, and the northern region was one of them. In the northern region, the younger generation was competing for the human list. Any young person who could enter the human list was a well-known figure, and any one of them was enough to cause a sensation. Now, Jun Qiong had appeared, and this was the 34th powerhouse in the northern region. The northern region was vast, with hundreds of millions of creatures and immortals everywhere. To be able to enter the top 50 of the human list in the northern region, this strength was enough to show disdain. What's more, this Jun Qiong came from the 10,000 Arts sect, one of the top 10 sects in the northern region. With a strong foundation, powerful strength, and extraordinary talent, in the eyes of everyone, Jun Cheong was a perfect existence. Now, he had come, and his target was Jiangchen. 10,000 Arts Sect, one of the top 10 sects in the northern region. Jiangchen whispered, nodded with a smile, and said, "When my 10,000 Creation Sect was still around, the 10,000 Arts Sect was a subsidiary sect of my 10,000 Creation Sect. After the 10,000 Creation Sect declined, the 10,000 Arts Sect sought refuge under the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Later, because Zhou Kunlun no longer guarded the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, the strength of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain was greatly reduced, and the 10,000 Arts Sect sought refuge under Immortal King Xianjun. You guys are really slaves of 3 surnames." Speaking until here, Jiangchen smiled again, with a trace of evil charm and contempt, and said, "A servant of the past, now you dare to be arrogant in front of your master?" Jun Cheong, who had a smile on his face, after hearing these words, his face turned gloomy. The folding fan in his hand waved faster and faster, his expression was gloomy, and the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. In fact, the entire immortal domain knew that the reason why the 10,000 Arts Sect had today's strength and status was because of this. Slave of 3 surnames. After changing 3 masters and accumulating enough foundation, they were able to establish themselves in the northern region and become one of the top 10 sects in the northern region. However, although the status of the 10,000 Arts Sect was high now, if anyone were to say that they were slaves of 3 surnames, the entire 10,000 Arts Sect would explode. What's more, Jiangchen said it in front of everyone. What's more, Jiangchen was the young master of the 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect, as well as the number 1 master of the 10,000 Arts Sect. Now, a servant was shouting in front of his master. What was this? Strength is everything. So what if it's myriad transformations? The 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect is long gone, and the 10,000 Mounts are suppressed under the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. You are nothing now, Jun Cheong said in a deep voice. Today, I will kill you and break the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect's roots. You can try, Jiangchen said softly. His expression was calm, but there were wisps of wind and fire floating around him. Facing his former servant, Jiangchen didn't give him any face. What's more, the other party wanted to devour their master. I came today not to fight with you. After all, you are not my opponent. With my status and strength, fighting with you is really a loss of face, Jun Cheong said disdainfully. Today, I just came to see how far you, the former young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, have fallen. Oh? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and said with a bit of ridicule and contempt. You said you won't fight, so I won't fight? Have you asked for my opinion? Boom! The moment his voice fell, Jiangchen rushed out, the immortal qi in his body surging. With a wave of his hand, 3 streaks of chaotic qi rushed out like sharp blades. His speed was extremely fast, far faster than ordinary immortals. Especially the 3 streaks of chaotic qi, they shocked everyone. Jun Cheong was also stunned. He didn't expect Jiangchen to take the initiative to attack. While he was in a daze, a strand of chaotic energy pierced through his chest, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Then, the second streak of chaotic qi fell, like a sharp blade, and cut off his limbs. Finally, the third streak of chaotic qi fell, like a mountain-splitting axe, and cut open the top of Jun Cheong's head. If not for a ray of immortal light at the last moment, protecting Jun Cheong's divine soul, the genius ranked 34th on the human list of the North region would have died here today. Boy! Don't go too far! How dare you hurt the genius of the 10,000 Arts Sect? At this moment, a middle-aged man appeared. His aura was very powerful, far surpassing the 2 realms. He was also a member of the 10,000 Arts Sect, Jun Cheong's guardian. He couldn't watch Jun Cheong be killed. Such a genius was the hope of the 10,000 Arts Sect, and they couldn't allow anything to happen to him. Oh? Surpassing the 2 realms? At this moment, Jiangchen smiled. He was very happy. He pointed at his feet and said, There are people watching down there. Humph! Zhou Kunlun! If he dares to come to the immortal realm, the 10,000 Arts sect will definitely kill him. The man's tone was very arrogant. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the wind and clouds in this area suddenly changed, and a celestial king appeared, standing in the distance, indifferent and silent. At the same time, in the mortal realm, Zhou Kunlun opened his eyes, looked up at the immortal gate, and whispered, "Even Celestial King Xian Jun doesn't dare to say this. Who do you think you are?" Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a finger easily passed through the immortal gate, like a beam of light, and fell on the body of the man from the 10,000 Arts sect. Then, the man exploded, and his body was directly destroyed. "The matter of the 10,000 Arts sect has nothing to do with me, Celestial King Xian Jun." At this moment, the manifested Celestial King spoke, and disappeared after saying this. Obviously, facing Zhou Kunlun, even a Celestial King didn't dare to provoke him. Celestial King Xian Jun was also worried that if Zhou Kunlun was angry and broke the 1,000-year promise, then the first one to find him would be Celestial King Xian Jun. For his own sake, what was the point of abandoning the 10,000 Arts sect? In the eyes of an Celestial King, even a top sect that had been passed down for several generations was not as important as his own interests. This Celestial King Xian Jun admitted defeat. Is Zhou Kunlun really so terrifying? Even an Celestial King doesn't dare to fight him. Exclamations sounded all around, especially Jun Qiong, whose face was pale at this moment. He knew that because of him, Celestial King Xian Jun had abandoned the 10,000 Arts sect. Without the support of Celestial King Xian Jun, no matter how deep the foundation of the 10,000 Arts sect was, it would be difficult for them to squeeze into the top 10 in the northern region. And those mortal enemies of the 10,000 Arts sect, after learning about this matter, would definitely come to their door. The decline of the 10,000 Arts sect was only a matter of time. "A slave of 3 surnames is just a lackey in other people's eyes," Jiangchen said in a mocking tone. "Now you should think about what you should do in the future. Do you think that the 10,000 Arts sect will still accept you?" Hearing this, Jun Qiong completely panicked. His eyes were filled with fear, which quickly turned into anger. In his heart, if it weren't for Jiangchen, how could Celestial King Xian Jun abandon the 10,000 Arts sect? And how could he, Jun Qiong, end up like this? "I'm going to kill you!" Jun Qiong roared, his immortal power erupted, and a white bead appeared behind him. Chapter 1452. I am Jun Qiong, ranked 34th on the human roll of the North region. I am the top disciple of the 10,000 Arts sect. I will not be defeated. I will reverse the situation. Jun Qiong was enraged and his mind was not clear. Behind him, a white pearl appeared. It was covered with mysterious patterns that looked like an eye. With the appearance of the pearl, Jun Qiong's aura suddenly increased. Lightning surrounded him like a dragon. He rushed out like a ray of light, and rushed to Jiangchen's side in the blink of an eye. He threw his fist over. The fist radiance was surrounded by runes. Accompanied by thunder, it was aimed at the center of Jiangchen's eyebrows. "You were defeated before. Do you think you can win against me now?" Jiangchen said disdainfully. The 3 strands of chaotic aura returned. One turned into a shield, one turned into a sword, and one turned into a long saber. The shield blocked Jun Qiong's attack, but the moment the sword and saber attacked, Jun Qiong seemed to have sensed it and dodged. "This is the immortal jade! Heavenly Eye! All your attacks are in my eyes!" Jun Qiong laughed maniacally. The immortal jade was something that was born after one became a perfected immortal. Every immortal jade had its own special ability. For example, Jun Qiong's immortal jade had its own heavenly eye that could see through all the opponent's attacks. "Oh? Immortal jade?" Jiangchen said softly. He mocked himself in his heart. After 10 reincarnations, he had forgotten about this. The difference between an immortal and a perfected immortal is the immortal jade. "You are dead," Jun Qiong said coldly. He did not attack immediately as if he was playing with a monkey. He wanted to tease Jiangchen and humiliate Jiangchen in front of everyone. The anger in his heart had already twisted Jun Qiong. You seem to have forgotten that you and I are not from the same era. Jiangchen smiled. Jun Qiong seemed to have a bad premonition. His expression changed and the lightning on his body descended. He quickly attacked. However, at this moment, the million-change heavenly lamp appeared. The lamp burned and the flame turned into a purple immortal jade. Following the appearance of this purple immortal jade, everything in the surroundings seemed to have stopped. The lightning that descended from the sky actually vanished into thin air. At the same time, even the immortal force within Jun Qiong's body dissipated. At this moment, Jun Qiong had turned into a mortal. In my era, no one in my generation had the nerve to compete with me in the magical power of the immortal jade, Jiangchen said sarcastically. I forgot to tell you that I already had the immortal jade when I was an immortal. Boom! Just then, Jiangchen pushed forward with his palm. Flames danced and the silhouette of the dragon and tiger roared. He directly tore the Jun Qiong apart and turned it into dust that dissipated with the wind. Myriad Transformations Heavenly Lamp! This is Immortal Fine Jade, Myriad Transformations. I once heard that in that era, he was the #1 person of the younger generation. If it wasn't for the sudden change in the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, he would have long been an immortal king. It was only at this moment that the surrounding people remembered that Jiangchen was not from the same era as them. It was also at this moment that many people remembered that Jiangchen in that era was too powerful. Before reaching the true immortal realm, he already had the immortal exquisite jade. Now, although Jiangchen's cultivation was only an immortal, his foundation and strength were absolutely incomparable to ordinary people. Jun Qiong of the 10,000 Arts sect also committed a sin. He dared to come out and fight without investigating Jiangchen's background. Now, he's dead and the 10,000 Arts sect has been abandoned by immortal King Xianjun. Hey, it's a good thing for us. In the future, the 10,000 Arts sect will be nothing in the North region. Around them, there were many geniuses from the North region. At this moment, they did not have any killing intent towards Jiangchen. They reported this matter to their superiors, and the elders of their respective sects also snickered. The Kunlun Immortal sect invites the young master to return. Suddenly, a white crane came from afar. There was a white-haired old man on the white crane. His voice was loud and clear, and the runes of great Tao flashed around him. He came directly in front of Jiangchen. His expression and attitude were not respectful, and there was even a trace of contempt in his eyes. What does the Kunlun Immortal sect mean? They suppressed the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Master, and now they want Jiangchen to go to the Kunlun Immortal sect? Isn't that sending him to his death? Keep your voice down. That matter was very complicated. Although the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Master was suppressed under the Kunlun Immortal sect, it is said that his relationship with the Kunlun Immortal sect is still good. Around them, several elders whispered and warned the young people around them that it was better not to mention anything about the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Master and the Kunlun Immortal sect. At this moment, Jiangchen looked calm, but the memory in his mind was recovering. Recalling the past, Jiangchen was silent. After a long time, when the white-haired old man's face showed impatience, Jiangchen asked, "Who asked you to come?" "Naturally, it was the Mountain Master," the white-haired old man said. "Which Mountain Master?" Jiangchen continued to ask, frowning. His eyes were cold, and he said, "The 9 mountains of the Kunlun Immortal sect. The 9 Mountain Masters." "Who are you talking about?" "The first Mountain Master." The white-haired old man raised an eyebrow and said, "The first Mountain Master asked you to go back, so you go back." "And if I don't?" Jiangchen asked. Jiangchen knew very well that with Zhou Kunlun around, no matter how strong this old man was, he would not dare to do anything to him. However, Jiangchen knew even more clearly that if he went to the Kunlun Immortal sect, it would be a mixed blessing. Especially the first Mountain Master. If Jiangchen remembered correctly, the person who had decided to suppress the 10,000 mounts was the first Mountain Master of the Kunlun Immortal sect. Back then, It was because of this that Zhou Kunlun and the first mountain master of the Kunlun immortal sect had fallen out. What about the 10th mountain master? Without waiting for the old man to speak, Jiangqin continued to ask. When these words came out, the surrounding people were a little confused. Just now, you said that there were only 9 mountains in the Kunlun immortal sect. Then what about the 10th mountain master? Could it be that there was another mountain in the Kunlun immortal sect? That can't be. Everyone in the immortal world knows that there are only 9 mountains in the Kunlun immortal sect. Is this kid confused after reincarnating? Where did the 10th mountain come from? However, the white-haired old man's expression turned serious. His voice was slightly cold, and he said, "Don't mention this. Since the 10th mountain master is not here, then I will not go to the Kunlun immortal sect," Jiangqin said softly. He puffed out his chest and said, "Unless you take me away by force. I don't dare to take you away by force in front of the mountain guards, but you have to know, the Kunlun immortal sect will not harm you," the white-haired old man said. "It's up to you whether you go or not. However, your father can't hold on much longer. You'd better go and see him." "You are threatening me?" Jiang Chen's expression turned cold, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, Jiang Chen reacted quickly. Perhaps the old man was telling the truth and was not threatening him. This was because the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect had been suppressed for several generations. The essence, qi, and spirit in his body had been flowing away. Based on the lifespan of the immortal sect, his father did not have much longer to live. Chapter 1453. How powerful was the Wanqing immortal lord! He had ruled 1/10 of the known world of the immortal realm. However, even such a person would find it difficult to live forever after being suppressed. As time passed, the Wanqing immortal lord would become weaker and weaker until he died. At this moment, Jiangqin fell silent. He knew very well that once he went to Kunlun Mountain, he would be under house arrest. But if he did not go, he might not be able to see his father. "Filial piety is the most important," Jiangqin said softly. He looked at the white-haired old man with burning eyes and said, "I will go back to Kunlun Mountain with you. Please." The white-haired old man waved his hand and gestured for Jiangqin to sit on the back of the white crane. Jiangqin did not refuse. But when he stood on the back of the white crane shook violently and a terrifying immortal qi burst out. Its cultivation level was at the 9th level of the true immortal realm. "Evil beast is evil beast. Even your master has to call me young master. What are you?" Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He stomped his foot. Boom! Even a 9th level true immortal realm cultivator would not be able to withstand this heavy stomp. With a loud explosion, the white crane lay on the ground. A footprint appeared on its back, penetrating its back so deep that the bone could be seen. "It is not sensible. Young master, please don't blame it." The white-haired old man hurriedly stopped him. His words were polite, but his heart was bleeding. This was an immortal crane with the bloodline of the ancient immortal bird. It was one of the few immortal beasts in Kunlun Mountain. Usually, this immortal crane was the treasure of Kunlun Mountain. If not for the fact that they were here to pick up Jiangqin, they would not have needed it. But now, Jiangqin's stomp almost crippled this white crane. Screech! At this moment, the white crane let out a long shriek. Its white feathers turned into sharp blades, and they flew towards Jiangqin in the opposite direction. At this moment, panic appeared in the white-haired old man's eyes. Jiangqin's eyes were burning with anger. "Beasts are beasts," Jiangqin said coldly. His fist smashed down, and the fist light turned into a strong wind, dispersing the sharp feathers in the surroundings. Then, his fist smashed into the white crane's head. Puff! With a muffled sound, the white crane's head exploded, and even its soul shattered. It died on the spot. "You!" The white-haired old man widened his eyes and clenched his fists tightly. Veins popped out on his forehead. An immortal crane with the bloodline of an ancient immortal bird died just like that. This was a great loss for the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. They're just beasts. They don't know any better. They'll be a disaster if they're left alive, Jiangchen said softly. That's the end of those who don't know how to respect their seniors. What do you think? As soon as these words came out, the white-haired old man's mouth twitched. He knew very well that Jiangchen was hinting at him. The white-haired old man's cultivation was enough to kill Jiangchen with a single slap. However, he also knew that once he attacked, he would not even have the chance to kill Jiangchen. Zhou Kunlun would definitely kill him first. Return to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. As for this immortal crane, you can explain it to the first mountain master yourself, the white-haired old man said in a low voice. Explain? What is he? He's just a mountain master. Jiangchen curled his lips, his eyes full of contempt. Back then, when Wan Qing and Zhou Kunlun were still around, what was the first mountain master? In front of them, he did not even dare to fart. Now, when the tiger was gone, the monkey was king. You have to know one thing. I'll always be the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, and Zhou Kunlun will always be the guardian of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Jiangchen said coldly. Don't use the first mountain master to scare me. If the 10th mountain master is still around, he's really nothing. After saying that, Jiangchen frowned as if he thought of something. Then, he suddenly laughed and said, with the 9th mountain master around, the first mountain master is still nothing. You! Don't be too presumptuous. The white-haired old man scolded angrily. However, he did not continue speaking. Instead, he flew in the direction of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain without looking back. Jiangchen did not continue speaking. He followed behind the white-haired old man and walked slowly. The people around wanted to stop them, but they all knew that with the white-haired old man around, no one could stop them. Moreover, there was Zhou Kunlun outside the Immortal Sect. This guy is a little fierce. Good boy, if we let him grow, will we still have a share in this world? Many of the young people around were furious and felt helpless. With the power of an immortal, he killed Jun Qiong, a perfected immortal who was ranked 34th on the North Region human list. That alone was enough to show disdain for those of the same generation. The Divine Secret Pavilion has updated the human list. Jiangchen is ranked 30th on the list. Half a day later, the North Region was shaken. The Divine Secret Pavilion updated the list. Jun Qiong's name disappeared, and Jiangchen was on the list. Moreover, Jiangchen was the only one on the human list who was at the immortal realm. With the cultivation of an immortal, he's ranked 30th on the North Region human list. This guy. Did the Divine Secret Pavilion make a mistake? At that moment, Jiangchen was still walking slowly behind the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man was getting impatient. He kept turning back to look at Jiangchen. After several urging, Jiangchen continued walking slowly as if he did not hear him. Can you hurry up? The first mountain master is still waiting for you, the white-haired old man said. Your Majesty is not in a hurry, but the eunuch is. If you're in a hurry, go back first, Jiangchen said jokingly. Otherwise, I'll just look at the scenery along the way. After all, I've left the immortal world for many years. Then take a few more looks. I'm afraid that after you enter the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, you won't be able to see the scenery outside, the white-haired old man said. Oh? Are they so direct now? If they want to put me under house arrest, they won't tiptoe around? Jiangchen said jokingly. I can stay in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. I'm just afraid that the Kunlun Celestial Mountain won't dare to keep me. Humph! The white-haired old man snorted coldly. He did not want to say anything more. He was really afraid that Jiangchen would anger him to death. Then, the two of them continued walking without saying anything. While the two of them were heading towards the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, the 9 mountain masters were standing on the peaks of the 9 peaks of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. They looked into the distance. They had already crossed thousands of miles and saw Jiangchen. He's back. Yes, the 3 immortal kings won't sit by and do nothing. Should the Kunlun Celestial Mountain protect him? Protection? Why don't we put him under house arrest? He's not a good person, just like his father. The 9 mountain masters communicated across the air. Each of them had a different attitude towards Jiangchen. Let him stay in my 9th mountain. At that moment, an illusory voice sounded. It was impossible to tell if the voice was male or female. This voice came from the 9th mountain master. He was also the most mysterious of the 9 mountain masters. Legend had it that the 9th mountain master and the mysterious 10th mountain master had a very deep relationship. They might be master and disciple, or they might be father and son. However, one thing was certain. Every time the 9th mountain master spoke, the other mountain masters would choose to remain silent and avoid him. Chapter 1454. Kunlun's Celestial Mountain was a famous sect in the celestial world. It had been very powerful since ancient times, and its foundation was unfathomable. Each of the 9 peaks of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain had thousands of disciples. Especially the first peak, there were 3,000 disciples. Today, all the disciples and elders of the 9 peaks had appeared. They stood at the foot of the mountain. In front of them was a road that connected the 9 peaks and led to the gate of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain. Is that the son of the 10,000 creations Celestial Lord Wanhua? Why is he the young master of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain? Isn't he the young master of the 10,000 creations Celestial sect? I wonder how strong he is. Even if he is the young master, if he is not strong enough, I am afraid it will be difficult for him to establish himself in Kunlun's Celestial Mountain. The disciples were very curious about this young master that they had never met before. Some were guessing Jiangchen's appearance, and some were guessing Jiangchen's strength. Some people even said they wanted to have a fight with Jiangchen. He's here! Eh? Where's the crane? Suddenly, the noise at the foot of the 9 peaks became louder. Because at the gate of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain, an old man and a young man had stepped in. Needless to say, the old man was naturally the one who went to pick up Jiangchen. As for the young man, it was Jiangchen. Oh? It seems that you all welcome me. So many people are waiting. Jiangchen chuckled. Whether you are welcome or not, you will know yourself, the white-haired old man said coldly. He is Wanhua. Now he is called Jiangchen? I heard that he is very powerful in the lower realm. This strength. How can he only be an immortal? At this moment, the noise was even louder. Some people even showed contempt in their eyes. The 9 peaks of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain had more than 10,000 disciples, but none of them were immortals. This level of cultivation was really too weak. Jiangchen did not care about this. He stood at the gate with a smile and said softly, Which mountain should I go to? Of course, the first mountain, the white-haired old man said in a deep voice. The master of the first mountain asked me to pick you up. Of course, you will go to the first mountain. However, right after he finished saying those words, a blurry silhouette appeared on the 9th mountain. Then, an ethereal voice that could not be identified as male or female sounded. He has come to the 9th mountain. This, the Lord of the 9th mountain. The Lord of the first mountain wants him to go to the first mountain. The white-haired old man's expression turned ugly, but he did not dare to say anything else. After all, everyone in the Kunlun's Celestial Mountain knew that once the 9th mountain lord spoke, everything was set in stone and could not be changed. Do I need the first mountain lord's approval? The 9th mountain lord countered with a question of his own. His attitude was not overbearing, but it was clear to everyone that he, the 9th mountain lord, did not need to ask anyone for their opinion, including the current first mountain lord. At this moment, the white-haired old man was in a difficult position. After all, he was the one who had brought Jiangchen back. Therefore, he had to bring Jiangchen to the first mountain. However, in front of the 9th mountain lord, he truly did not dare to breathe too loudly. He did not even dare to speak. Just like that, the white-haired old man fell silent. However, he still held on to Jiangchen with one hand, not allowing him to leave. Jiangchen shrugged with a smile and teased. What? Is there any point in holding on to me? The first mountain lord will be here soon. Let's wait for the first mountain lord to arrive first, the white-haired old man said coldly. However, before the first mountain lord could arrive, a woman in green robes flew over from the 9th mountain. She was like a fairy, untainted by dust and unworldly. Her appearance could not be said to be peerless, but it was very pleasing to the eye. Once one's gaze fell on her, it was difficult to look away. This was especially true for the woman in green's waist. One could simply grab it. Martial Granduncle, the 9th mountain lord has asked me to come and fetch you. After a few breaths, the woman in green arrived beside Jiang Chen. After bowing her head, she smiled gently and gestured for him to leave. As she did so, she glanced at the white-haired old man. When she saw that the white-haired old man was still holding on to Jiang Chen, her face instantly darkened. Little Jian, if you don't let go, I'm afraid you'll lose your hand, the woman in green said. From his appearance, it was obvious that the white-haired old man was much older. However, the woman in green addressed him as Little Jian. There was no need to think too much about the reason. It was naturally because of his strength. Qing Mu, don't think that you can speak to me like that just because you have the 9th mountain lord's protection. I'm an elder of the 1st mountain, Little Jian said in a deep voice. His real name was Jian Yun. I have the 9th mountain lord's protection. What's wrong? Qing Mu smiled. Suddenly, she turned around and looked at the 9th mountain. Master, with your protection, can I do whatever I want in Kunlun Celestial Mountain? If your leg isn't broken, you can do whatever you want. The 9th mountain lord's voice came from the 9th mountain. At this moment, Jian Yun's face turned pale, while the smile on Qing Mu's face widened. Jian Yun, since Old Ninth wants him, give him to him. We're all from Kunlun Celestial Mountain. It doesn't matter where he lives. At this moment, a rather majestic voice came from the 1st mountain. Obviously, it was the voice of the 1st mountain lord. At this moment, Jian Yun let go of his hand and glared at Jiang Chen, who was smiling faintly. You won't be able to walk out of Kunlun Celestial Mountain. I don't want to leave, but I'm afraid that you won't dare to stay. The corners of Jiang Chen's mouth curled up slightly as he said meaningfully. Then, Jiang Chen took a step forward. When he walked to Qing Mu's side, Jiang Chen tilted his head and frowned slightly. He asked, Why did you call me Grand Uncle Master? Master said that your seniority is higher than mine. Qing Mu said respectfully. Master also said that I will take care of Grand Uncle Master from now on. No matter what requests you make, I will agree. At this point, a wisp of crimson actually appeared on Qing Mu's fair and tender face. This also stunned Jiang Chen for a moment. Then, he looked at the 9th mountain and looked at the shadow. He muttered, I haven't seen you for a few generations, but you're still so good at causing trouble. Won't you be jealous? In the end, under Qing Mu's lead, Jiang Chen arrived at the foot of the 9th mountain. Jiang Chen originally thought that he could live at the peak of the mountain. However, Qing Mu told him that the 9th mountain lord had said that there were no more seats at the peak of the mountain. He could only live at the foot of the mountain. Moreover, he had to live with a group of outer sect disciples. This made Jiang Chen somewhat speechless. He looked at Qing Mu meaningfully and asked, When did she say that? When you were whispering just now, Master sent a voice transmission over. She didn't want you to go up to the peak of the mountain, Qing Mu said with a smile. This time, Jiang Chen was somewhat speechless. He glared at the shadow on the peak of the mountain and said, You did it yourself, so you're jealous. Why are you blaming me? After saying that, Jiang Chen smiled evilly and sized up Qing Mu from head to toe. He said, You've come all the way here and are travel-worn. Come and help me bathe and change my clothes. As soon as these words were spoken, Qing Mu's face turned red again. However, before she could speak, the shadow on the 9th mountain directly said, How dare you! Chapter 1455. Jiang Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the words. How dare you! He glanced at the peak of the mountain and chuckled. Then I'll live at the foot of the mountain. Come up here! However, to everyone's surprise, the ninth mountain lord spoke again with a hint of anger. What's so good about the foot of the mountain? How difficult? Jiang Chen's lips curled into a devilish smile as he said, You're exactly the same as before. You really know how to cause trouble. Then Jiang Chen started to walk along the mountain path, as if he was familiar with the place. He walked all the way to the peak. Qing Mu followed behind him, blinking her beautiful eyes. She was extremely curious about this young master who had just arrived. She knew very well that her master usually didn't speak. It could be said that she cherished her words like gold. Now, in one day, not only did she say a few words, she even did it in front of the entire Kunlun Immortal Mountain. This was a little strange. Could it be that, Master and he? Qing Mu's expression became strange. She thought of her master's icy face that would not melt for 10,000 years. Although she was indeed devastatingly beautiful, who would like that icy face? It looked very cold. From now on, you will live here. Other than the ninth mountain, you are not allowed to go anywhere. When Jiang Chen arrived at the peak of the mountain, the ninth mountain lord had already disappeared. However, she still left behind a sentence. These words were naturally to remind Jiang Chen that she could protect him in the ninth mountain, but it was hard to say once he left the ninth mountain. After all, it was easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to defend against a hidden arrow. The ninth mountain still hasn't changed. This mountain peak that has been flattened, TSK. Jiang Chen's expression was strange as he clicked his tongue. Compared to the other mountains, the ninth mountain was indeed a little strange. The peak of the ninth mountain seemed to have been cut off by someone. The surface was smooth and even emitted wisps of sword chi. Martial Granduncle, I heard from Master that there was once a shameless guy who went to tease her. Then, in a fit of anger, she attacked. In the end, she didn't hit him. Instead, she cut off half of her own mountain peak. Qing Mu said. Well, don't listen to your master's nonsense. With that ice-cube face of hers, who would flirt with her? Jiang Chen's face reddened as he thought back to the past and smiled bitterly. Of course, with Jiang Chen's thick skin, he only blushed slightly to show his respect. After a few breaths, his complexion returned to normal. I'll stay here. At this moment, Jiang Chen walked towards a palace at the peak of the mountain and walked in very naturally. This gave Qing Mu a fright. She knew very well that this palace was where the ninth mountain lord lived. Others could not enter at all. Even Qing Mu, the only true disciple of the ninth mountain lord, rarely went in. Martial Granduncle, Master doesn't allow ordinary people to enter, Qing Mu advised. Although half of the peak of the ninth mountain has been cut off, it's still very big. Why don't you live somewhere else? Am I an ordinary person? Jiang Chen teased. All right, I'll stay here. After saying that, Jiang Chen's gaze suddenly looked into the distance. It was the first mountain. If it was in the past, it wouldn't be your turn to live in the palace of the first mountain, Jiang Chen muttered. Then, Jiang Chen entered the palace. The moment he opened the door, a beautiful figure appeared before his eyes. She was wearing a purple dress and a bright red hairpin. Her back was like a charm, and only an inch of her snow-white neck could be seen under her hair. TSK. Several eras have passed, but you still haven't changed. Your skin is so good, and your waist is not bad either. Jiang Chen was really blabbering here. Moreover, at the end, Jiang Chen did not forget to add, as if he was asking a question. It's your chest. Is it still the same as before? Several eras ago, you and I were of the same generation, and you were indeed stronger than me. However, several eras have passed, and you have only just returned. As for me, I'm already a celestial lord. Watch your words. The beautiful figure turned around. Her peerless face was flawless. However, there was no expression on her face. She was like a block of ice that would never melt, and she gave off the feeling that she was thousands of miles away. Jiang Chen had long been used to this. He was not afraid at all. He slowly walked in front of the ninth mountain lord and slowly leaned his face forward. The ninth mountain lord's expression was still the same, calm and cold. However, deep in her eyes, there was a trace of panic. What? You want to hit me? Jiangchen spoke in a mocking tone. Since he was too close to the ninth mountain lord, his hot breath blew into the ninth mountain lord's ears. At this moment, the ninth mountain lord's body showed a trace of abnormality. Her entire body was hot, and even a trace of ripples appeared in her cold eyes. In the next moment, Jiangchen smiled evilly. He did not care that the other party was the ninth mountain lord. He stretched out his hand and hugged her slender waist. You! The ninth mountain lord's body was boiling. Looking at Jiangchen, who was so close to her, the frost on her face finally melted. Jiangchen laughed and hugged the ninth mountain lord tightly in his arms. He whispered in her ear, "So what if you're strong? You bastard!" The ninth mountain lord was furious. Her face was red, and she stretched out her hand to push Jiangchen away. However, for some reason, even though she was a celestial lord, her outstretched hands were weak and powerless. "Hey, your apprentice told me that when someone flirted with you, you attacked him out of anger, and half of the mountain was razed to the ground. Do you think it's true?" Jiangchen said sarcastically. "You!" The ninth mountain lord was speechless. Of course, she knew what had happened back then. It was not that Jiangchen had tried to flirt with her. Instead, she had tried to flirt with Jiangchen when she had drunk too much. In the end, she failed to flirt with him. In her anger, she flattened half of the mountain. Of course, when she told the public, she naturally said that someone had tried to flirt with her. "What do you plan to do now that you're back?" After a dozen breaths, the two of them separated. The ninth mountain lord regained her ice-cold expression. "Of course, I'm here to settle the score," Jiangchen said. "I've owed a debt for several generations. It's time to collect some interest." As he spoke, Jiangchen looked outside the Great Hall. He wanted to see the first mountain, but in the end, he saw Qing Mu hiding in a corner and peeking. His face was flushed red. "Your disciple has this hobby? Likes to see others being intimate?" Jiangchen asked with a strange expression. The ninth mountain lord was also a little confused. Previously, she had been hugged by Jiangchen and did not have the mind to care about anything else. But now... "Qing Mu! Go back and cultivate!" The ninth mountain lord's face turned red. She thought to herself that she had lost face this time. She had actually been seen by her disciple. Qing Mu was not afraid of the ninth mountain lord at all. He said with a smile. "Then I won't disturb Master and Uncle Master." With that, Qing Mu ran away and muttered, "So Master is not cold. He's such a person." Chapter 1456. The immortal world had not changed in the past few eras. Ever since the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect was defeated, the people from the 6 major sects had disappeared. They must have gone into hiding. Now, the 3 immortal kings were in charge of the immortal world. As for the Kunlun immortal mountain, due to some special reasons, the 3 immortal kings could not control them. The Kunlun immortal mountain had never interfered in other matters. Both sides could be said to be peaceful. But now, it was different. Jiangchen had returned. He was the young master of the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect. He was also the young master of the Kunlun immortal mountain. He must have returned for revenge. Would the 3 great immortal kings be able to watch Jiangchen grow up? Obviously not. Since they could not, the 3 immortal kings would definitely come looking for trouble. And with Jiangchen's current strength, it would be difficult for him to stop them. Then, other than Zhou Kunlun, the only one who could help Jiangchen stop the 3 immortal kings was the Kunlun immortal mountain. "Xian Yu, you should give me some advice." Jiangchen looked at the 9th mountain lord. Xian Yu was her name. "If more than half of the 9 mountain lords of the Kunlun immortal mountain support you, you don't have to be afraid of the 3 immortal kings," Xian Yu said. "It's just that, among the 9 mountain lords other than the 6th mountain lord and me, the rest do not think highly of you, especially the 1st mountain lord, that old lady, don't mention her." Jiangchen said unhappily. Jiangchen and Xian Yu knew very well that there was no deep hatred between him and the first Mountain Lord. However, the first Mountain Lord was inextricably linked to Jiangchen's father, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Lord. Because of this, the first Mountain Lord did not like Jiangchen. "Where's the 10th Mountain Lord?" Jiangchen asked. "He disappeared. I don't know where he went." Xian Yu sighed. Both of them knew that if the 10th Mountain Lord was here, he would not need the help of the other Mountain Lords. He alone could intimidate the 3 immortal kings. However, the 10th Mountain Lord was too mysterious. He came and went without a trace. There were even rumors that the 10th Mountain Lord was in seclusion. Perhaps he was already dead. "Take it slow. You've just returned, so you should increase your cultivation first," Xian Yu said. "Kunlun Celestial Mountain is not an easy place to stay. The disciples of other sects will most likely come to find trouble with you. And as the mountain chieftain, I can't do anything to those disciples. You have to be careful." "Are you concerned about me?" Jiangchen giggled. "Indecent." Xian Yu rolled her eyes at Jiangchen. A trace of worry flashed in her eyes as she said, "I don't know how much longer Uncle can hold on. If you have the time, you should go and see him." "Let's go now." Jiangchen's expression turned serious. In this immortal realm, his only remaining relative was Wan Cheng. If Wan Cheng died, Jiangchen would no longer have any relatives in the immortal world. After saying that, Jiangchen stood up and walked out of the hall. "Do you need me to accompany you?" Mystic Moon asked. "No need, I can do it alone," Jiangchen said softly. His voice was very calm, like still water. Looking at Jiangchen's back, Xian Yu's ice-cold face finally revealed a trace of a smile. "You've finally returned. In this immortal realm, I'll accompany you," Xian Yu said softly. Walking out of the hall, Jiangchen walked along the mountain path towards the 8th peak. Along the way, there were people staring at Jiangchen, their eyes filled with confusion. There were also people who directly mocked. "A mere immortal, I'm afraid he doesn't even have the ability to fly in the sky in this immortal realm. What young master? The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect has been destroyed, the 6 major sects are also gone. What is this young master?" Calling him young master is polite, but to be honest, what is he? He's just a small immortal. At first, Jiangchen didn't want to pay any attention to these people, but then he heard them say, "You're just like your father. You're a good-for-nothing, and you won't have any future. Sooner or later, you'll be suppressed and die." Hearing this, Jiangchen stopped in his tracks and slowly turned around. Then, he raised his head and saw an outer sect disciple of the 9th mountain standing in the air. He was standing right above Jiangchen. "You can insult me, but you can't talk about my father." Jiangchen's eyes were cold as he stared at the young man in the air and said, "Sometimes, talking too much will cost you your life." So what if I say it? You're a weakling who can't even fly in the air. What can you do to me? I'm standing right here. If you don't like it, fly up and hit me." After saying that, the young man laughed maniacally, his eyes full of disdain. One had to know that the laws of the immortal world were very powerful, and the suppression of the great Tao was even more ridiculous. Normal immortals could not fly at all. However, they did not know that with Jiangchen's strength, not to mention flying, he could even travel 1,000 miles in the blink of an eye. "Since you're a disciple of the 9th mountain, I won't make things difficult for you," Jiangchen said in a low voice, giving Xian Yu some face. He said, "Come down, apologize, and I'll let bygones be bygones." "Are you kidding me? Do you really think you're the young master?" The young man's face was still full of disdain, and he was still laughing maniacally. He said, "You're making me laugh to death. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it," Jiangchen said softly. Boom! In the next moment, Jiangchen stomped his feet on the ground like a dragon coming out of the abyss. With the shadow of a dragon and tiger, a green lamp appeared. A vine burst out, burning with the light of the 1,000-change heavenly lamp. With a piercing sound, a cold light pierced through the young man's body. Before he could even scream, the young man fell from the sky. His life was cut off. I gave you a chance, Jiangchen said softly. He glanced at the peak of the 9th mountain and said, You can humiliate me, but you can't humiliate my father either. Xian Yu, who was standing in front of the main hall, naturally saw and heard everything. She didn't know what to say or do. However, she was very sure of one thing. If Jiangchen suffered a loss in the 9th mountain, she would definitely help Jiangchen get revenge. It's just an outer sect disciple. After a few breaths, Xian Yu spoke. Her voice echoed throughout the entire 9th mountain. At this moment, the disciples of the 9th mountain panicked. They did not expect that Xian Yu, the mountain leader of the 9th mountain, who was also their master, would protect Jiangchen. Qing Mu! I told you to take good care of him. Xian Yu was still standing outside the main hall. Her voice was cold, and with a shout, Qing Mu had already appeared in front of her. From now on, if he still needs to personally take action on Kunlun Mountain, then you can leave, Xian Yu said coldly. Qing Mu panicked. Xian Yu had never been angry at him, but now. Master, I know my mistake. I'll go accompany him now, Qing Mu said hurriedly. Him? You should call him Uncle Master or Young Master, Xian Yu reminded him. I don't care if others are convinced by him as the Young Master. If I'm convinced, you have to be too. Chapter 1457. After such a commotion, the people of the 9th mountain did not dare to be disrespectful to Jiangchen. But to the people of the other peaks, what was Jiangchen? What was the use of a person with the lowest cultivation in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and a down-and-out young master? So what if he had the protection of Xian Yu? Xian Yu was not the only one who had the final say in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. At this moment, Jiangchen was walking in front, and Qing Mu was following beside him. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on Jiangchen, and her mind was filled with greetings. She did not know why her master was so good to Jiangchen. Could it be that the two of them were really Tao companions? Uncle Grandmaster, between you and Master, what is the relationship? After a few breaths, Qing Mu could not help but ask. What relationship can there be? She wants me, but I refuse. Jiangchen teased. I don't like iceberg faces. Qing Mu was immediately speechless. She thought to herself that this was a standard case of a woman chasing a man. With Xian Yu's status and appearance, although she had not smiled for 10,000 years, the people chasing after her could line up from the 1st mountain to the 9th mountain. With such beauty, Jiangchen actually did not like her? Young Master is indeed Young Master. His standards are really high, Qing Mu thought to herself. She admired Jiangchen from the bottom of her heart. They walked forward. When the two of them walked down the 9th mountain and arrived at a main road in the mountains, they saw Jian Yun standing in front of them. His face was gloomy, and there was a trace of killing intent in the depths of his eyes. Little Jian, what are you doing? Qing Mu curled her lips and said, If you want to fight, I don't mind playing with you. But although I'm a woman, I don't know how to control my strength. If I cripple or kill you, don't blame me on the 1st mountain. The Lord of the 1st mountain said that since Young Master has just returned, he's afraid that you won't be able to fit in with the celestial realm. I'm afraid that your usage of celestial energy isn't as good as it used to be. That's why he asked me to come over and train you, Jian Yun said. He even warned, Don't call me Little Jian anymore. Little Jian, are you going to do it yourself? Even if it's training, with your cultivation, isn't this bullying the Young Master? Qing Mu said, still calling Little Sword. Jian Yun rolled his eyes in response. He pointed at the 1st mountain disciples behind him and said, Let them train with the Young Master. Oh? The 1st mountain sure is thoughtful. The corner of Jiangchen's lips curled up. But what if I don't accept? If you don't accept it, then don't go see your father. Jian Yun smiled evilly. At this moment, Jiangchen's face suddenly turned cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. For Jiangchen, his only family in the immortal realm was his father. Now, his father could not hold on any longer. If he did not allow him to see his father, he would not even be able to see him for the last time. Aren't you going too far by doing this? Qing Mu was the first to speak. Her beautiful face was filled with frost. She even took a step forward and was about to attack Jian Yun. Jian Yun was shocked. Although he was older, his strength was not as strong as Qing Mu. If they really fought, he would most likely be suppressed by Qing Mu. However, before Qing Mu could attack, Jiang Chen suddenly laughed and nodded. All right, since the first mountain wants to train me, I will naturally accept. After all, this is the first mountain's good intentions. It's good that the young master understands. Jian Yun joked. Then, shall we start now? Any time, Jiang Chen said, but then he frowned and said, But, as you said, I haven't been in the immortal realm for a long time, and my use of immortal power is not as good as before. If I don't know how to control my strength and hurt the disciples of the first mountain, don't blame me. Kid! Do you really think you're the young master? You're just an immortal, who do you think you are? Hurt us? What a joke! Where does an immortal get his confidence from? The disciples behind Jian Yun scolded angrily, and did not forget to mock Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen shook his head and did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Jian Yun and said, Life and death is up to fate. Is that okay? Oh? Jian Yun was stunned for a moment, then he became excited. He originally wanted to bring the disciples of the first mountain to teach Jiang Chen a lesson, but now that Jiang Chen wanted to fight a life and death battle, then he could not blame anyone. What? Life and death is up to fate? Life and death battle? This, the power of an immortal is challenging a perfected immortal? Those are the disciples of the first mountain. Many people were watching the show, and some of them knew that Jiang Chen had just killed an outer sect disciple of the ninth mountain. However, everyone knew that the disciples of the first mountain were far stronger than the disciples of the other mountains. They were all outer sect disciples, but if the outer sect disciples of the first mountain went to other mountains, they would definitely be able to enter the inner sect. That was the difference. Now, Jiang Chen, an immortal, dared to fight a perfected immortal of the first mountain to death. Was that not suicide? Uncle Master, they are all disciples of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Don't kill them. Spare their lives. Qing Mu muttered at the side. It's fine to kill one or two of your fellow disciples. After all, you are the young master. But if you kill too many, it will be difficult for Master to speak up for you. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment when he heard that. He was rather surprised. After all, others thought that Jiang Chen was courting death, but Qing Mu was worried that Jiang Chen would be too heavy-handed. You have that much confidence in me? Jiang Chen asked. Of course, you are my uncle master. If you lose, I will lose face, Qing Mu said. Jiang Chen was speechless. He thought that Qing Mu was very confident in him, but it turned out that this little girl was worried about his face. The strongest one among you will fight with me. I don't want to waste time. At this moment, Jiang Chen looked at the few disciples that Jian Yun had brought. Then, his gaze landed on a red-haired youth. This person's aura was very strong. There were wisps of flames rising around his body, and there was a scorching power surging within his body. Among those disciples, this person was the strongest. You really don't know what's good for you. You actually dare to challenge a fire-type perfected immortal. Cultivation is divided into the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. Among the 5 elements, the fire type is the most violent. At the same realm, only the metal type can contend against the fire type. Exclamations sounded from all around. They secretly thought that Jiang Chen was really courting death this time. So what if it's fire type? What if my uncle master is of the water type? Qing Mu was unconvinced as she glared at the people around her. However, just as she finished speaking, she was slapped in the face by Jiang Chen. I'm only at the immortal realm. How can there be a difference? Jiang Chen said snappily. I'll use pure immortal power to fight with your fire-type immortal power. Heh, alright. Jian Yun smiled mockingly and said to the fire-type true immortal behind him. Yun Lai, don't beat him to death. No matter what, he is still the young master in name. Just cripple him. When Yun Lai heard this, he nodded confidently and said, I can use 60% of my cultivation. I won't kill him. Chapter 1458. Yun Lai was indeed very powerful. The disciples of the first mountain behind Jian Yun were also very powerful. Otherwise, Jian Yun would not have brought them here. At this moment, Yun Lai was very confident. He claimed that he only needed to use 60% of his power to defeat Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen laughed and shook his head. I'll give you a chance. Kid, have you lost your mind? I'm a fire elemental perfected immortal. You're only in the immortal realm. You haven't even awakened your element. How are you going to fight me? Yun Lai said disdainfully. As soon as he finished speaking, the flames on his body started to burn. The surrounding temperature suddenly rose and a layer of fire clouds appeared above his head. Jiang Chen still had a faint smile on his face. He looked at Yun Lai, who was covered in flames, and waved at him. Come on! You're courting death! Yun Lai was infuriated by Jiang Chen's attitude. He shouted angrily and a streak of flames turned into a seal. It was like a palm that suppressed Jiang Chen. Screech! However, at this moment, a long screech came from Jiang Chen's body. Then, a giant bird rose up. It was burning with inextinguishable flames. It flapped its wings and destroyed Yun Lai's attack. What? That's a vermilion bird? Why does it look like an immortal bird? Could it be a phoenix? Cries of surprise could be heard all around because they had never seen such a bird before. It looked like a phoenix but also a vermilion bird. However, there was an inextinguishable flame burning on it. What was that? Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. Ever since he started cultivating the soul enhancement demonic technique, his Dao soul had become more and more powerful. Now Jiang Chen did not know what to call it. However, one thing was for sure. All three of his Dao souls were very powerful. Dao soul? It's just something from the lower realm. It's useless in the immortal realm, Yun Lai said disdainfully. He rushed out and pushed his hands forward. The flames surged again. This time, the flames turned into several pillars. Like a cage, Jiang Chen was trapped inside. However, before he could make a move, purple gold vines rose from the ground and cut through the pillars of flames like sharp blades. Then, purple gold vines rushed out like chains and trapped Yun Lai. Then, the inextinguishable fire fell and drowned him. Cries of alarm rang out from the surroundings once more, and the miserable cries under the inextinguishable flames continued unabated. Yun Lai was miserable. He was a fire-type true immortal, but the flames he cultivated were inferior to the inextinguishable flame. In the inextinguishable fire, the power in his body was being refined, and even his immortal power was gradually disappearing. The flames that he was so proud of were like grass and trees in front of the undying flames. They burned with a single touch, and they burned cleanly. Stop! Jian Yun panicked. Yun Lai was an outer sect prodigy of the first mountain. If anything happened to him, he would be held responsible. However, Jiang Chen did not seem to hear him. The undying flame continued to burn. At the same time, purple gold vines burst forth, piercing into the undying flame like swords. Ah! The miserable cries were even louder. As soon as blood flowed out of Yun Lai's body, it was burned by the undying flame. Jian Yun was furious. He raised his palm, wanting to save Yun Lai. However, before he could make a move, Qing Mu coughed lightly and said leisurely, "Did you not see that I was here?" As soon as he said that, Jian Yun immediately cowered. After all, he was no match for Qing Mu. "Sorry, I don't know how to control my strength." After more than 10 breaths, Jiang Chen seemed to have come back to his senses. With a wave of his hand, the undying flame disappeared. At that moment, everyone saw that Yun Lai had collapsed on the ground without a trace of injury on his body. However, the celestial force in his body had been completely refined. "You've always looked down on me, an immortal. Now, what are you?" A cripple? Jiangchen teased. Under the undying flame, Yunlai's cultivation had been refined. Now, he was even inferior to a mortal. Yunlai had already broken down. After glaring angrily at Jiangchen, he fainted on the spot. Jianyun's face was red. He stared at Jiangchen, clenched his fists, and said coldly, "He's an outer disciple of the first mountain. He's a prodigy. How dare you cripple him? Are you blind?" Jiangchen said snappily. "I've already crippled him. Why are you still talking about whether I dare or not? If a few more people come, I'll still cripple him." After saying that, Jiangchen walked to Jianyun's side and said softly, "You can't do anything to me." Then, under Jianyun's gloomy expression, Jiangchen slowly walked past Jianyun and laughed a few times. The faces of the disciples behind Jianyun turned pale as fear lingered in their hearts. If it had not been for Yunlai, they would have been the ones whose cultivations would have been crippled. An immortal with no elemental affinity was able to defeat a fire-type true immortal like Yunlai with his lower realm Dao soul. Just how powerful is he? Could it be that we've really underestimated him? In his era, he was the top of the younger generation. It was said that not many people could compete with him. If it wasn't for the great change in the 10,000 Creations immortal sect, he would have risen to power in this era. I'm afraid the three immortal kings wouldn't have anything to do with him. The people around were discussing Jiangchen. After all, the strength that Jiangchen had displayed was too strong. If such a person was nurtured well by the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and given enough cultivation resources, his rise would definitely be unstoppable. However, everyone knew that the current Kunlun Celestial Mountain was not peaceful. Other than the 9th mountain, the other mountains probably didn't have a good attitude towards Jiangchen. He can't stay any longer. Sooner or later, he will be expelled from Kunlun Celestial Mountain or put under house arrest. At this moment, Jiangchen didn't care about the voices around him. He narrowed his eyes and walked towards the first mountain. Qing Mu followed behind with excitement on his small face. "Uncle Granduncle, you're so powerful! You can actually suppress a fire-type true immortal at the immortal realm," Qing Mu said. "Then when you reach the true immortal realm and awaken your attributes, won't you be invincible among true immortals?" "Oh? Is that so? Maybe?" Jiangchen asked with a devilish smile on his face. "Is it very powerful to be invincible among the same realm?" Isn't it powerful?" Qing Mu was dumbfounded by the question. "If I only pursue invincibility among the same realm, then, so what if I don't become an immortal?" Jiangchen said softly. "I want to be invincible for a lifetime. Don't look at it in front of you. What is the same realm? So what if I cross 3 or 5 realms? This? Uncle Granduncle, you are indeed very strong, but this is the immortal realm. To be able to fight across one realm is already very powerful," Qing Mu said. Jiangchen smiled and didn't explain anything. It was because Qing Mu and he were not from the same era. And in Jiangchen's era, everyone knew that his combat strength had already reached the level of crossing 2 realms. You're not going to let me off?" When the two of them reached the foot of the first mountain, Jiangchen's face darkened. It was because Jianyun had unknowingly arrived in front of them. At this moment, he had brought a few disciples and blocked the entrance of the first mountain. Chapter 1459. Jiangchen was really angry. Ever since Jianyun brought him back, this old man had been making things difficult for him. Now, he had just crippled Yunlai, and this old man was here again. The rules of Kunlun Celestial Mountain are very strict. The disciples of each mountain are not allowed to enter other mountains, Jianyun said seriously. If you want to enter the first mountain, you have to follow the rules. Old man, don't use the rules of Kunlun Celestial Mountain to pressure me. Those rules are useless to me, Jiangchen said in a low voice. Who were you in my era? Even the first mountain master had to respect me. Humph. You said it yourself, that was your era. Now, the era is different. And you are still an immortal. Jianyun did not hold back. He pointed at the 3 young men behind him and said, "After 3 battles, you can enter the first mountain. Otherwise, you can go back to where you came from. Even if the 9th mountain master is here, it won't work. Looks like you won't stop until there's blood today." Jiang Chen's eyes were cold as he looked at the 3 young men behind Jian Yun. They were all level 9 true immortals. In the immortal world, each realm was divided into 9 levels. After 9 levels, one could break through. Although Yun Lai was strong, compared to these 3 young men, he was obviously much weaker. Jiang Chen even suspected that these 3 people's cultivation had surpassed the true immortal realm. This time, they might have suppressed their cultivation. However, Jiang Chen did not care. After all, in his era, he could cross 2 levels to fight. Previously, Zhou Kunlun had set a 2-level agreement with the 3 immortal kings because of this. "The 3 of you, attack together! Don't waste my time!" At this moment, Jiang Chen took a step forward, pointed to the side, and shouted angrily at Jian Yun. "Get lost! You! Don't be too presumptuous! I'm an elder of the first mountain!" Jian Yun's expression was gloomy, but before he could say anything, he was interrupted by Qing Mu. Qing Mu raised her eyebrows and stared at Jian Yun, saying, "So what if you're an elder of the first mountain? Not to mention that my status as a true disciple of the 9th mountain is higher than yours, and the person standing in front of you is the young master. He's also my martial granduncle. If you dare to disrespect my martial granduncle, don't blame me for killing you." Jian Yun admitted defeat once again. He was very embarrassed, but facing a girl like Qing Mu, he really had no choice. Even if he could defeat Qing Mu, Jian Yun wouldn't dare to fight him. After all, Qing Mu was Xian Yu's precious disciple. Usually, Qing Mu could do whatever he wanted in Kunlun Mountain. If Qing Mu suffered even the slightest grievance, then not to mention Xian Yu, perhaps the entire 9th mountain would come knocking on his door. Senior Sister Qing Mu is right. No matter what, he is still the young master. Right. Senior Sister Qing Mu is right. Some of the male disciples from the first mountain began to speak up. They looked at Qing Mu with adoration in their eyes. This infuriated Jian Yun. He thought to himself, what kind of world is this? Don't you know which mountain you're from? Can't you see that your elders are being bullied? Why are you speaking up for an outsider? Boom! At this moment, an explosion suddenly sounded. Jiang Chen took the initiative to attack. The 1,000 transformations heavenly lamp appeared, and a sword ray seemed to be about to cut through the sky. Wherever the sword ray passed, everything was torn apart. The young man standing at the front was even cut in half at the waist. If Jian Yun hadn't acted in time and pulled the young man back, this sword ray would have been enough to take his life. "You sneak attacked me." The young man reconstructed his body, and his face was so gloomy that it could drip stagnant water. Everyone's eyes were open. "How can you say that I sneak attacked you?" Jiang Chen said contemptuously. "Stop talking nonsense. If it weren't for Jian Yun, you would have died just now." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen attacked again. It was still the 1,000 transformations heavenly slash. But this time, the 3 of them were already prepared. One of them formed a seal with both hands, and then suddenly pressed it on the ground. Suddenly, an earth wall appeared out of thin air. It was densely covered with runes and was indestructible. Another person waved his hand, and a swathe of water fell and turned into bubbles, trapping the 1,000 transformations heavenly slash. As for the young man who had been cut in half by Jiang Chen, golden light flashed in his eyes, and a golden sword appeared out of thin air. Then, the sound of air breaking was heard, and it went straight for Jiang Chen's face. Metal, earth, and water elements? Jiang Chen frowned. He didn't expect the 3 genuine celestials to have awakened their elements. However, for Jiang Chen, it was just a little unexpected. Boom! Boom! At that moment, the 10,000 transformations heavenly slash struck back and shattered the earthen walls one after another. Furthermore, the bubbles formed by the water turned into water droplets that scattered all over the place. Finally, Jiangchen clenched his fist and punched the golden sword that was coming toward him. You blocked my metal element attack with your bare hands? You probably don't know that the metal element is the most powerful element in killing. Your hand is going to be crippled, the young man said contemptuously. However, before he could finish speaking, a loud explosion rang out. Under the horrified gaze of the crowd, Jiangchen shattered the golden sword light with a punch. At the same time, his body shook, and the illusory image of a dragon and a tiger appeared. A rose bloomed, and time seemed to stop. The next second, Jiangchen suddenly appeared in front of the three young men. He raised his hand and three palms directly shattered their celestial fates and destroyed their cultivation. Old man, can I go up now? Jiangchen looked at Jian Yun again. His eyelids drooped slightly, and he seemed to be in a trance. How could Jian Yun let Jiangchen go up the first mountain so easily? He asked someone to carry the three young men back, and then he cleared his throat. When he was about to speak, he heard Jiangchen say, "Qing Mu, hit him!" "Yes." Qing Mu didn't hesitate. After nodding, he directly rushed in front of Jian Yun. A white and tender palm covered Jian Yun's face, and then it pressed down toward the ground. Bang! Accompanied by a muffled sound, Jian Yun's face collided with the ground. Blood splattered, and even his neck was about to sink into the ground. "You caused trouble for my martial granduncle! You caused trouble for my martial granduncle!" At this moment, Qing Mu was continuously kicking the back of Jian Yun's head as he muttered. When the disciples of the first mountain saw this, they looked at each other, but no one went up to report it. It was because in their eyes, Qing Mu had a different charm when he made a move. "Enough! This is the first mountain!" Suddenly, an angry shout came from halfway up the mountain, and there was a hidden force that pushed Qing Mu back. Before Qing Mu could come back to his senses, he saw a silver-haired young man land from halfway up the mountain. His feet stomped on the ground, and with a loud bang, he stood in front of Jiangchen. "You destroyed 4 disciples of the first mountain in succession. Do you really think that the first mountain doesn't dare to touch you?" The silver-haired young man raised his eyebrows. As he spoke, he pressed a finger between Jiangchen's eyebrows. Chapter 1460. The space between the eyebrows was the key part of a cultivator. Once it was injured, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, the silver-haired youth appeared and pressed his finger against the space between Jiangchen's eyebrows. He wanted to kill Jiangchen. "If you dare to kill me, then do it. Don't say such useless things." Jiangchen was quite calm, because he knew very well that no one in the entire Kunlun Celestial Mountain dared to kill him. Even the first mountain master did not dare. Then, even the first mountain master did not dare, but this silver-haired youth dared? Obviously, it was impossible. "You're very similar to your father's bad temper." The silver-haired youth chuckled with a trace of contempt in his eyes. "I know what you're thinking. The Kunlun Celestial Mountain doesn't dare to kill you, but I'm not from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain." As soon as he said this, Jiangchen's pupils suddenly constricted. At the same time, Qing Mu hurriedly attacked. Boom! With an explosive sound, Qing Mu blasted him away and protected Jiangchen behind her. The silver-haired youth was not angry. Standing not far away, he dusted off and said, "Little girl, how can you be so irritable? What do you care?" Qing Mu said coldly, but her forehead was covered in cold sweat. She had long heard that there were some people from other sects on the first mountain. And these people were all from the 3 immortal kings' sects. They were here to detain the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord. Since the silver-haired youth in front of her was not from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, there was only one possibility. He was from the 3 immortal kings' sects. Even if this kind of person killed Jiangchen in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain today, the Kunlun Celestial Mountain would not say anything. Even Jiangchen understood that perhaps some people from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain would order the 3 immortal kings' sects to kill him. After all, it was not easy for the Kunlun Celestial Mountain to make a move on him. "I'm not from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain," nor am I from the three immortal kings' sections. The silver-haired youth chuckled. So you don't have to be so nervous. Then why did you press against my Uncle Master's glabella? Qingmu said coldly. She had already informed Xianyu. However, Xianyu did not react at all. She did not even look in the direction of the first mountain. This made Qingmu a little depressed. Could it be that his master wasn't in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain? Or was there another reason? Who are you? Jiangchen spoke in a low voice. Although the other party claimed that he wasn't a disciple of one of the three immortal kings, Jiangchen wouldn't believe it so easily. Do you still remember the moon god? The silver-haired young man said softly. Then, with a wave of his hands, a bright moon appeared out of nowhere and rose to the sky. However, this bright moon quickly disappeared after rising into the sky. Perhaps he just wanted to show it to Jiangchen. Without waiting for Jiangchen to reply, this silver-haired youngster said, I am called Yi. As soon as he said this, Jiangchen was dumbfounded on the spot. His heart was in a mess, and he covered his face with both hands. Other people might not know who Yi was, but Jiangchen knew very well. Back when Jiangchen was in the world of immortals, there were only a few people he didn't dare fight. One of them was Yi. It wasn't because Yi was very strong back then, but because his identity was too special. This guy was the younger brother of the moon god, which meant that he was Jiangchen's brother-in-law. With this layer of relationship, how could Jiangchen dare to make a move against Yi? Back then, Jiangchen had been hiding from Yi. Thinking about it carefully, this was the first time they had met this brother-in-law. I don't care if you're Yi or you Bai. If you dare to touch my martial granduncle, I'll hit you, Qingmu said in a deep voice. Don't do it, we're all on the same side. Jiangchen rubbed his nose awkwardly and said, This is my brother-in-law, what? Brother-in-law! At this moment, not to mention Qingmu, even the disciples of the surrounding mountains were dumbfounded. Especially the disciples of the first mountain, they knew Yu Ye's identity. He was from the Moon God clan, and was the number one young master of the Moon God clan. If nothing unexpected happened, the patriarch of the Moon God clan would be him. How did this guy get involved with the Moon God clan? This is the future patriarch of the Moon God clan! Cries of alarm rang out from all around, but Yu Ye's expression was somewhat unsightly. He stared at Jiangchen with an ice-cold expression and said, Where's my sister? Your sister is still down there, Jiangchen said. I didn't abandon her. Is that so? Yu Yi raised his eyebrows and said, You haven't gotten married yet, so don't call me brother-in-law. I won't recognize you as my brother-in-law. What's wrong? Am I not good enough as your brother-in-law? Back then Before Jiangchen could finish, Yu Ye's face darkened. He waved his hand and interrupted. Back then, when the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was destroyed, even our 6 great sects suffered. If not for the fact that our Moon God clan had a deep foundation and persevered, I'm afraid our clan would have been gone long ago. Jiangchen opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. After all, this matter had indeed implicated the Moon God clan. Back then, there were a total of 6 great sects under the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, and one of them was the Moon God clan. However, before the 3 immortal kings attacked the Moon God clan, the Moon God clan had already left the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. But who would have thought that after leaving the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, the Moon God clan would still be attacked by the 3 immortal kings and was almost exterminated. As for how the Moon God clan had managed to survive, Jiangchen really had no idea about it. However, Jiangchen did feel indebted to the Moon God clan. Brother-in-law, now that I'm back, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect will naturally open again, Jiangchen said seriously. In 1,000 years, I will definitely make the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect reappear. However, Jiangchen's heroic words made Yi curl her lips. In the end, she couldn't stand it any more and ridiculed. You! Immortal realm? Martial granduncle, your realm is indeed a shortcoming. Qingmu couldn't help but mutter. Jiang Chen's face turned slightly red. So what if his realm was low? Could he be blamed for this? Back then, if it wasn't for the fact that he had to avoid the pursuit of the immortal king, could Jiang Chen have reincarnated 10 times? In 1,000 years, you want to make the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect reappear? What kind of joke is this? In 1,000 years, you can cultivate to the immortal king realm? I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to even reach the immortal monarch realm, Yu Yi said snappily. Come on, how did my sister take a fancy to you back then? I wonder if she's blind? As soon as she said this, Jiang Chen chuckled and said, Charisma! This time, one rolled her eyes and didn't want to say anything, while the other was so thick-skinned that he didn't know what to say. After the two of them were silent for a while, Yi suddenly let out a long sigh and said, Go up and see your father. What's wrong with him? Jiang Chen's heart tightened, feeling that the matter was a little serious. Perhaps, in the next few days, his father might not be able to hold on anymore. You'll know when you go up and take a look, sigh. Yu Yi let out a long sigh, her expression sorrowful. Chapter 1461. Looking at Yu Ye's sorrowful expression, Jiang Chen's heart tightened and he hurriedly rushed forward. At this moment, with Yu Yi leading the way and Jian Yun being crippled, no one stopped them along the way. After a few breaths of time, the two rushed to the peak of the mountain. There was a palace at the peak of the first mountain, but it was not very big. Compared to the palaces of the other mountains, it could be described as simple and crude. However, this did not affect the prestige of the first mountain in Kunlun. Your father has been imprisoned in the main hall. You should go in and see him. Yu Yi sighed and glanced at a woman outside the palace. She raised her eyebrows and said, You won't stop me, right? Since you're here, why should I stop you? The woman said softly with her back facing Jiang Chen. However, Jiang Chen knew and had seen her before. She was the mountain master of the first mountain. At this moment, Jiang Chen did not have the time to care about the first mountain master. He hurriedly entered the main hall. However, the moment he pushed open the door of the main hall, Jiang Chen was completely dumbfounded. The interior of the main hall was well decorated. It was not magnificent, but it was very grand. Moreover, there was a hot spring in the main hall that was emitting immortal energy. There were fruit and tea plates placed around it. In the hot spring, there was a white-haired man lying leisurely. On both sides of him, there were two beautiful women serving him. One of them was stuffing fruits into his mouth, while the other was kneading him. It was obvious that he was enjoying himself. Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at the white-haired man. After a long time, he asked tentatively, Father? As soon as he said that, the white-haired man slowly turned around. When he saw Jiang Chen, a smile appeared on his face. He said, Good boy, you're finally back. Jiang Chen was not in the mood to reminisce with his father. He pointed at the two women beside Wanqing, then pointed at the hot spring and asked, You're being suppressed? To the outside world, they claim that they are suppressing me, but this is the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. How can they really suppress me? Wanqing smiled and said, Look, aren't I living well? As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen's vision turned black and he almost fainted. I was so worried about you. I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to hold on and would pass away. I rushed here in a hurry, but you're king enjoying life. Back then, I was forced to descend to the lower realm and had no choice but to reincarnate 10 times. In the end, how many eras did you enjoy here? My father is really unparalleled. Jiang Chen pouted and sized up Wanqing. He said, Are you all right? Do I look like I'm in trouble? Wanqing asked. At this moment, Jiang Chen was enraged. If the person in front of him was not his father, he really wanted to rush up and beat him up. Yu Yi! Just now at the foot of the mountain, what was with that sorrowful look on your face? Did you already know that my father was fine? Jiang Chen looked at Yu Yi behind him, only to see that she was covering her mouth and trying to hold back her laughter. Tears were about to come out. At the same time, the first mountain lord walked in and glared at Wan Qing, saying, "He's your son. You even lied to your own son for several eras. You really are a father." Wan Qing smiled and got up from the hot spring. He instantly went to the first mountain lord's side and hugged her waist, saying, "You can't blame me for this. You know that acting is very tiring. If those 3 godly kings found out, I would really be suppressed." Jiang Chen's mind was in a mess, and he looked at his father before he looked at the first mountain's lord. He couldn't help but wonder. Since when were these 2 together? Back then, Wan Qing had personally rejected the first mountain lord. It was also from then on that the first mountain lord's attitude towards Jiang Chen was very bad. But now, it seemed that everything before was an illusion. "The whole world is awake, but I'm the only one who's confused." Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. However, seeing that his father was full of energy, Jiang Chen was relieved. "When I went up the mountain, I felt that something big was going to happen. But I didn't expect that something like this would happen," Jiang Chen muttered. "Child, cultivate well when you come back. Come here more often when you're free. I can give you some pointers," Wan Qing said and pointed at the first mountain lord in his arms, saying, "This is your 5th mother." "5th mother? You **king." Jiang Chen was in a mess again. Jiang Chen knew that his father was a playboy. But back then, for his sake, he never took in a concubine. Ever since Jiang Chen's mother died, Wan Qing had been single for several eras. But now, he had gone to the lower realm to reincarnate for 10 eras. Why did he have a 5th mother when he came back? Then, counting with his fingers, excluding Jiang Chen's mother, he now had 4 mothers? "I say, Dad, have you ever thought about my feelings?" Jiang Chen rolled his eyes and said, "You don't look like you're being suppressed. You're clearly hiding to take in a concubine. Keep a low profile, keep a low profile." Wan Cheng's skin was extremely thick. He waved his hand and said, "You still have 4 younger brothers and sisters, **ck. Jiang Chen was speechless. Was this guy really his father? This was not an ordinary trap. However, Jiang Chen did not say it out loud because he knew that he was also a trap. If the father is so tricked, the son won't be any better. "I heard that you tricked a lot of people in the lower realm," Yi teased. "You're really the same. Let me be alone." Jiang Chen's mind was dizzy. After muttering, he left. He was a little confused, and also a little confused. Walking out of the main hall, Jiang Chen walked towards the 9th mountain with a gloomy face, accompanied by Qing Mu. Along the way, Jiang Chen frowned. Although he had been tricked to death by Wan Qing, he did not think about this matter. Since father is fine and hasn't come out, then, he's naturally afraid of the 3 immortal kings, Jiang Chen thought to himself. However, after thinking about it, he felt that something was wrong. Back then, Wan Qing's strength could contend with an immortal king. In the last battle, if it weren't for the mysterious person, the 10,000 creations immortal sect might not have lost. Then, the reason why Wan Qing hadn't come out was most likely because he was afraid of that mysterious person. That mysterious person, who is he? Jiang Chen thought to himself. That mysterious person was the culprit behind the destruction of the 10,000 creations immortal sect. Unfortunately, after the mysterious person destroyed the 10,000 creations immortal sect, he never appeared again. Zhou Kunlun had also gone to investigate, but there were no clues. "Martial Granduncle, what are you thinking about?" Qing Mu looked at Jiang Chen, who was frowning, and couldn't help but ask curiously. "I'm thinking about how I could have such a father." Jiang Chen rolled his eyes and said, "My biological father! My biological father is unparalleled!" As he spoke, Jiang Chen's expression suddenly froze. He raised his head and looked at the foot of the 9th mountain. There was actually a barrier there. Chapter 1462. Although the Kunlun Celestial Mountain was self-contained, the 9 peaks had their own masters. Under normal circumstances, the various peaks would not activate the enchantment, much less a single enchantment. However, at this moment, at the foot of the 9th mountain, an enchantment rose at the entrance. Was this preventing others from entering the 9th mountain? What happened? The entrance to the 9th mountain has been sealed? Jiangchen said softly. Oh, it should be Master who is cultivating. Qingmu explained. Master has encountered a bottleneck and has been trying to break through, but it seems that it's difficult to break through. Bottleneck? She will also encounter a bottleneck? Jiangchen was stunned. Although Xian Yu's talent was not as good as Jiang Chen's, she could still be considered a genius. Such a person should not encounter a bottleneck. I'm not sure about that either. It seems to be related to the cultivation method that Master cultivates. Qingmu explained. I heard from the other mountain masters that the cultivation method that Master cultivates is very special. Cultivation method? Jiangchen was puzzled at first, but he quickly thought of something. Back then, when Jiangchen was still in the celestial world, Xianyu had told him something. That was that the cultivation method she cultivated was a dual cultivation method. It was also because of this that Xianyu was in a hurry to find a Tao companion and happened to meet Jiangchen. However, it was a pity that Jiangchen refused. Then, after so many years, Xianyu's cultivation method. She has a Tao companion? Jiangchen asked, feeling a little jealous. No Tao companion, Qingmu explained. The other mountain masters said that Master encountered a bottleneck because of her cultivation method and her Tao companion. Could it be that she... Jiangchen was shocked and had already realized something. The next moment, he rushed to the front of the enchantment and formed a seal with both hands. He even took out the myriad transformations heavenly lamp. The power of all transformations was released and the enchantment dissipated. Then, Jiangchen rushed up. In a few breaths' time, Jiangchen arrived at the peak of the mountain and directly entered the main hall. The moment the door was opened, Jiangchen saw that Xianyu's face was flush red and her body was covered in blood. There was even a crack between her eyebrows. A unique aura permeated the hall. It was like the fragrance of flowers, but it was exceptionally enchanting. You're practicing the dual cultivation method alone? Aren't you afraid of suffocation? Jiangchen dashed over and helped Xianyu to her feet. He said, Have you been living like this all these years? So what? Haven't I also cultivated to this level? Xianyu said unhappily. I'm used to it. Dual cultivation method can be cultivated alone. Isn't it better to cultivate with two people? Jiangchen had a strange expression on his face as he looked at Xianyu in his arms and asked, Why don't you give it a try? Mystic Moon's face turned red as she stared at Jiangchen without saying a word. She didn't reject, but she didn't agree either. To a shameless person like Jiangchen, if you don't say anything, I'll take it that you agree. In the next moment, Jiangchen slammed his palm into the air and closed the door of the main hall. Then, a devilish smile appeared on his face as he said, This time, you should be able to break through your shackles. You! Just as Xianyu was about to speak, she realized that Jiangchen was already very close to her. After that, as usual, 10,000 words will be omitted. After a round of wind and rain, Jiangchen lay on the ground. His face was pale and he looked at Xianyu with resentment. One of his hands was even holding his waist. This is your first time, and you're already so fierce? Jiangchen mumbled. When Xianyu heard this, her face turned red. She spat and before she could put on her clothes, a powerful aura exploded from her body. At the same time, in the cloudless sky above the main hall, a huge sword suddenly appeared. The sword was covered with runes and the rules of the Tao floated around it. There was even the power of order burning. This was the immortal tribulation. It was obvious that Xianyu was about to break through. However, Xianyu dissipated her own cultivation and suppressed it to the level of an immortal monarch. What's wrong? Jiangchen asked curiously. You don't want to be an immortal king but insist on being an immortal monarch? In the current immortal world, there are 3 immortal kings ruling the world. Kunlun Mountain also has 1 immortal king, Xianyu explained. With 1 immortal king, The three immortal kings can still be at ease with Kunlun Mountain. If Kunlun Mountain has another immortal king, do you think the three immortal kings will sit by and do nothing? Then what should we do? Are you going to keep suppressing it? Jiangchen sighed. Now, the three immortal kings were ruling the sect. They couldn't bear to see someone become an immortal king. They wanted to stabilize their own position and power. If a sect had more than one immortal king, it would definitely affect the position and power of the three immortal kings. At that time, the three immortal kings would definitely take action. When the time comes, I can break through at any time, Xianyu said softly. As she spoke, Xianyu moved to Jiangchen's side and touched his waist. She asked, "Are you really that tired?" When Jiangchen heard this, his entire body trembled. He grabbed the clothes on the ground and wanted to run out. However, Xianyu was already prepared. She used the power of an immortal monarch to seal the main hall and even pushed Jiangchen to the ground. "This time, it's my turn." Xianyu's face was red, but the words she said made Jiangchen's face turn red. Here, another 10,000 words were omitted. After another storm, Jiangchen finally walked out of the main hall. When Qingmu, who was standing outside the door, saw the pale Jiangchen, he hurriedly walked over and supported him. He asked worriedly, "Uncle Master, what happened to you? Are you injured?" "This, internal injury." Jiangchen supported his waist with one hand and supported himself against the wall with the other. What should he do if this continued? Wouldn't he be squeezed dry? "I wanted to be invincible in the world, but who would have thought that? I actually came out holding the wall. There are enemies in the world." Jiangchen sighed. "Uncle Master, this is an invitation from several sects in the northern region. They said that they want to meet you." Qingmu was dumbfounded, but he still handed over an invitation and explained. "They just sent it over. Those sects said that they want to see the glory of the young master of the 10,000 Creations Immortal sect, so they specially arranged a banquet for you." "Banquet? A banquet at Hongmen?" Jiangchen said snappily, but he didn't find it strange at all. After all, his identity was too special. There were many people who wanted him dead. However, with the agreement of 1,000 years and the agreement of 2 realms set by Zhou Kunlun, how many people in the immortal world could kill him? Jiangchen had also counted. Maybe there were, but there wouldn't be more than 3. "Go and call brother-in-law, let's go together," Jiangchen said. "What if he doesn't want to go?" Qingmu said softly. "I see that Yu Ye's attitude towards you isn't that good. Is it because you don't treat his sister well?" "Little brat, don't talk nonsense," Jiangchen said snappily. "Go and tell him that if he doesn't accompany me, I'm going to take in a concubine. There won't be a place for his sister's main empress." Chapter 1463. Yi came, but his expression was very ugly. Especially when he looked at Jiangchen, his eyes were filled with killing intent. "What are you looking at? Let's go," Jiangchen teased. He was not polite at all to this brother-in-law. Yi felt sullen. He also understood that he could not attack Jiangchen. If he dared to attack Jiangchen, not to mention Zhou Kunlun, the 9th Mountain Lord alone would be enough to make him suffer. Moreover, Jiangchen had the Moon Goddess behind him. If his sister knew that he had hit her man, it would be a big deal. "This is clearly a feast at Hongmen. Why do you still want to go?" Yi asked doubtfully. "In my eyes, there is no feast at Hongmen." Jiangchen smiled and said, "Zhou Kunlun and the 3 immortal kings made a pact of 2 realms. I am now in the immortal realm, and I am no longer afraid of the 2 realms above the immortal realm." "Ha, you talk big," Yi snorted coldly. However, Yi also knew that Jiangchen was not bragging. He really had that kind of terrifying battle strength. "When we go out, we have to have enough cards. Are there any immortal beasts in the 9th mountain?" Jiangchen said. "The 3 of us can't go there on foot, right? That would be embarrassing." "Immortal beasts? You still want to ride immortal beasts?" Yu Ye's face darkened and said, "Did you kill the immortal crane that went to pick you up?" Now the whole Kunlun celestial mountain has heard about it. No immortal beast dares to carry you now. When he said this, Jiangchun was rather embarrassed. Who asked that immortal crane to court death? Then, let's walk. Jiangchun smiled bitterly. In the end, Jiangchun, Xianyu, and his old undying father said goodbye and set off with Yi and Qingmu. Kunlun Celestial Mountain was in the north region, so it was not far from the sects and the place where the feast was held. The three of them flew in the air and arrived at a beautiful place in half a day. This place was already densely covered with spirit formations and spirit formations. All those who entered would have to undergo an inspection. Of course, Jiangchun didn't need to be checked at all. After all, this banquet was held for him. Who are you three? Do you have an invitation? However, when Jiangchun and the other two arrived at the entrance, a guard stopped them. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. He clearly knew Jiangchun's identity, but he still wanted to make things difficult for him. Can I get in without an invitation? Jiangchun asked with a faint smile. Of course. The guard nodded. As soon as these words came out, Jiangchun was amused. He slowly turned around and walked back the way he came. He sighed and said, It seems that we are not fated to attend this banquet. Who asked us to not have an invitation? When the guard saw that Jiangchun was about to leave, he immediately became anxious. What kind of joke was this? The banquet was held for you. If you leave, wouldn't this banquet be ruined? Moreover, if others knew that it was because of him that Jiangchun left, the responsibility would be heavy. Young Master Jiangchun, look at my memory. I just remembered that it was you. The guard hurriedly walked over with a smile on his face. He said politely and respectfully, I've never seen you in person before. I only saw your portrait on the human list of the northern region. That's why I didn't recognize you for a moment. Oh? Then you might be mistaken. I'm not Jiangchun. Jiangchun joked. We don't have an invitation, so we won't go in and join in the fun. You are Jiangchun. I won't remember wrongly. The guard was anxious. He knew that Jiangchun did it on purpose, but he didn't dare to say anything. Even if he attacked, he might not be able to do anything to Jiangchun. After all, Jiangchun still had Yu Yi and Qingmu by his side. Oh? Is that so? If you say so, then so be it. Jiangchun chuckled and turned around again. When he passed by the guard, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he said softly, I, Jiangchun, am not someone a guard like you can bully as you wish. After saying that, he didn't care about the guard's ugly expression and entered the array with Qingmu and Yu Yi. Passing through the light screen formed by the array, what entered his eyes was a dark green. The mountains and rivers were delicate and beautiful, with trickles of water flowing. Immortal Qi turned into mist, lingering between the mountains and rivers. This place was obviously a holy land for cultivation. The major sects have put in a lot of effort. In order to hold this banquet, they actually chose such a good place. Jiangchun said softly. Since the other party is so polite, we can't let them down. Don't cause trouble. Although there is an agreement between the two realms, but you still have to be careful. Yi reminded. As the saying goes, it's easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to guard against a hidden arrow. What if some people were to make a move against Jiangchun behind his back? Yo, isn't this the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect? At this moment, a group of youths walked over from afar. Their cultivations weren't high, but they all had imposing appearances. In terms of appearance, they could be considered to be of high quality. However, the words that these people said were somewhat unpleasant. One of the youths wearing a yellow robe chuckled and said, The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect has been destroyed. What is a young master like you? You only exist in name. You don't have to worry. As long as I'm still here, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect will still exist. Jiangchun said. As soon as these words were spoken, the group of people immediately laughed out loud. A single person could be a sect? Moreover, he was only an immortal. Once the 1,000-year agreement is over, it will be the time of your death. No, 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 maybe it won't take 1,000 years. These people kept talking, but Jiang Chen didn't care. He looked at them with a smile. However, Qing Mu, who was at the side, couldn't bear to listen any longer. This was her martial granduncle. If her martial granduncle was ridiculed and lost face, then wouldn't she, Qing Mu, lose face as well? At least, that was what Qing Mu thought. At this moment, Qing Mu glared at those people. Immortal power surged from her body, as if she was about to attack. We are here to participate in the banquet, not to fight. Jiang Chen pressed down on Qing Mu's hand and said with a smile, "It's fine." But Qing Mu opened her mouth, but when she saw the sinister look in the depths of Jiang Chen's eyes, she immediately understood. Yu Yi, who was at the side, curled her lips. She thought to herself that this guy was most likely the same as Wan Qing. Before the banquet even began, he had already thought of how to scam people. "I am the sect master of the Green Jade Mountain, Qing Chang Qing. Greetings, young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect." At this moment, an old man walked over. Before he arrived, his voice arrived first. After the old man arrived, the few youths shut up and looked at the old man with some fear. "These are a few disciples of my Green Jade Mountain. They are insensible, so I hope young master won't blame them," Qing Chang Qing said. "How can a person lower himself to the level of a dog?" Jiang Chen asked back. After saying that, Jiang Chen sized up Qing Chang Qing from head to toe. He frowned and asked, "Have we met before?" Chapter 1464. Jiang Chen hadn't been in the immortal world for a few generations, so he couldn't remember the people he knew back then. However, Jiang Chen had some impression of Qing Chang Qing, the sect master of Green Jade Mountain. But it was also very vague. Qing Chang Qing was still full of smiles when he heard this, and he seemed to be very polite and respectful to Jiang Chen. However, what he said next made Jiang Chen's face suddenly turn cold. "Young master, you really have a bad memory. Back then, I also served the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect," Qing Chang Qing said. "Do you still remember who took care of you when you were young?" As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen's memory came back instantly. At this moment, the killing intent in Jiang Chen's eyes soared, and even Yu Ye's killing intent rose. "Back then, it was you who tipped off the 3 immortal kings, which broke the sect protecting array of my 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect," Jiang Chen said coldly. "You also betrayed the Moon God clan. Young master, you must be joking. I just did something that I thought was right. The 3 immortal kings stood proudly in the immortal world, and no one could fight with them." Qing Chang Qing was still full of smiles. "A wise man submits to circumstances. Did I do anything wrong?" "You didn't do anything wrong, but you don't know it in your heart. Tens of thousands of lives in my 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, and nearly 100 lives in the Moon God clan, all died because of you," Jiang Chen said coldly. "You still dare to appear in front of me. Put away your fake smile, it's disgusting to see." Qing Chang Qing was not angry when he heard this. He looked up and down at Jiang Chen, still smiling, but there was a touch of coldness in the depths of his eyes. He didn't say anything, but left with his disciples. "Yu Yi, if you take action, do you have the confidence to leave here alive?" Jiang Chen asked. When Yu Yi heard this, her expression froze and she said, "You plan to let me kill Qing Chang Qing? As long as you can leave here alive, you can kill him," Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. "The 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect has suffered countless casualties, and even the 6 major sects have been implicated. Back then, if it weren't for this person, the 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect wouldn't have been destroyed so easily. If I kill him, if I want to leave, as long as an immortal king doesn't intervene, they won't be able to stop me." Yi frowned. "Then what about you? Won't it implicate you? You were the one who killed him. What does that have to do with me? With the agreement between the 2 realms, they won't dare to make a move against me," Jiang Chen joked. "If they want to kill me, then go ahead and kill me. You should have said so earlier." I couldn't hold it in any longer. Moonlit Night spoke softly. As her voice fell, her body shot out like a ghost, like the cold moonlight, instantly arriving behind Qing Chang Qing. Qing Chang Qing would never have dreamed that at this banquet, there was actually someone who dared to make a move on him. He didn't even have time to resist before a beam of moonlight pierced through the back of his head. The space between his eyebrows cracked, and his spirit was destroyed. A generation's verdant Jade Mountain sect leader fell on the spot. You, sect leader! You dared to commit murder! The group of disciples of Verdant Mountain were shocked and furious. Looking at Yi, whose hand was still dripping with blood, all of their faces turned pale. Yi didn't care about these people. After nodding at Jiang Qin in the distance, she immediately rushed out of the array, turning into a beam of moonlight and leaving. With the death of a sect leader, this matter naturally became a big deal. Soon, a group of experts rushed over from a mountain range. When they saw that Qing Chang Qing had been killed, the group of people was immediately furious. Someone pointed his spear at Jiang Qin, his body surging with killing intent, and a dark light rushed towards Jiang Qin. Fortunately, Qing Mu intervened and blocked it, but her face was also slightly pale at this moment. She was clearly afraid. Of course, she wasn't afraid of herself, but was worried about Jiang Qin's safety. If you don't care about the agreement between the two realms, you can attack me. Jiang Qin's face was calm as he mocked. Do you believe that Zhou Kunlun would have already killed you before you could attack? Once these words were spoken, everyone reacted. Their faces were gloomy as they stared at Jiang Qin, as if they weren't willing to let this matter rest. Jiang Qin! This matter is related to you. You brought that person here, so you have to take responsibility for this matter. That's right. Do you know how big of a matter it is to kill a sect leader? Some people were angrily rebuking, and some were even approaching Jiang Qin. In response, Jiang Qin shrugged indifferently and said, I'm a mere immortal. How could I kill a sect leader? Moreover, you saw it just now. The person who attacked wasn't me, so it has nothing to do with me. You brought him here. This matter can't end like this. Don't think that you can do whatever you want because of the agreement between the two realms. There are many people here who can deal with you. Facing these people's shouts again, the corners of Jiang Qin's mouth could not help but reveal a trace of a smile. He walked in front of Qing Mu, opened his arms, and said, I did order him to kill him, but I didn't do it myself. If everyone is unconvinced, you can chase after him. Of course, if you want to vent your anger on me, I won't resist, and I can't resist. If you want my life, you can make a move. After saying that, the smile on Jiang Qin's face became even wider, and he said, If I fight back, I won't be human. At this moment, someone was indeed impulsive. He took a step forward, wanting to make a move on Jiang Qin. However, a cold light pierced through the gate of heaven. Before that person could make a move, he was already dead. Needless to say, this attack was naturally Zhou Kunlun's doing. Come on, come and kill me. Jiang Qin continued to mock. A group of people who think they're strong, facing an immortal like me, why don't you dare to make a move? Are you afraid? Ha! You also know fear? Let me tell you, the moment I returned to the immortal world, even the 3 immortal kings were afraid. As for you, in my eyes, you're even less than dust. At this point, Jiang Qin put down his arm and asked, Then, for this banquet, should I continue to stay or leave? At this moment, the entire place was silent, and no one made a sound. Some people were furious and full of killing intent, but they did not dare to make a move. There were also people who thought, You can do such a shameless thing, are you really human? People who exceed 2 realms don't dare to make a move on you, but we can. Our realms are not more than 2 realms away from yours. Yes. Do you dare to fight with us? At this moment, a few disciples of Green Jade Mountain jumped out. Naturally, they wanted to avenge their sect leader. When Jiang Qin saw these brats, he was immediately amused. I want to die recently. I hope you can satisfy me. Come on. Come at me together. Jiang Qin teased. You're asking for death. Today, we'll kill you, and Zhou Kunlun won't say anything. The disciples of Green Jade Mountain were completely enraged. A group of people swarmed forward, and various types of immortal spells fell, dazzling and colorful. Chapter 1465. Verdant Mountain was considered a first-class sect in the northern region, and the disciples in the sect were also very strong. Especially this time, the disciples brought by Qing Changqing were meant to deal with Jiangchen. How could the disciples he brought be weak? However, when the disciples of Verdant Mountain swarmed forward, Jiangchen raised his hand and slammed it down. A sword chi burst out and directly cut the disciples in half. Then, Jiangchen showed no mercy. The sword light shone again and destroyed the celestial souls of these people. What? What's going on? An immortal killed a group of genuine immortals with 2 swords. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. They were so shocked that they couldn't say a word. This was not a one-on-one fight, but a siege. A group of genuine immortals attacked, and none of them were weak, but the result was that they were all wiped out. I'll fight with you. At this moment, another person walked out. His cultivation had reached the golden immortal level, which was 2 realms lower than Jiangchen. However, to everyone's surprise, Jiangchen refused on the spot. Why should I fight just because you want me to? I don't want to fight, I'm tired. Jiangchen joked. Of course, it was not that Jiangchen was afraid of this golden immortal, but he was deliberately angering them. Today was a banquet, and many people knew that Jiangchen would come. So, if they forced Jiangchen to fight at the banquet, it would not be justified. What's more, the group of people from Kunlun Immortal Mountain could not ignore Jiangchen. Therefore, as long as Jiangchen did not want to fight today, no one could force him. You are the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, and you have no temper. I challenge you, if you don't agree, it is equivalent to losing face for the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. The Golden Immortal said in a deep voice, as if he wanted to anger Jiangchen. In your eyes, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect has long been gone, and I, the young master, only exist in name. Jiangchen said. If I don't fight, I will lose face for the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect? Then I'm quite casual. After saying that, Jiangchen looked at the several elders around him. He knew that this banquet was organized by the sect leaders of several sections. Even if those old men were not the sect masters, they could still be considered as elders. Gentlemen, what is the main purpose of this banquet? Jiangchen asked. Don't tell me you want to kill me? Then, without waiting for the old men to speak, Jiangchen said in a sarcastic tone. You know Zhou Kunlun is watching. You can't kill me. This is too infuriating. The group of people were so angry that they felt dizzy. They secretly thought that Jiangchen was really a good-for-nothing. He was as despicable as his father. Since it's a banquet, we naturally can't avoid sparring. After all, cultivation is the most important thing for us. One of the old men said. Of course, there will also be music, chess, calligraphy, and painting to accompany you. There will also be heavenly treasures and fine wines. Can I pack it up? Jiangchen asked. At this moment, the group of people was completely convinced. Are you here to attend the banquet, or what are you here to do? Heavenly treasures and fine wines, you want to pack them up. Young Master Jiangchen, you really like to joke. The Kunlun Immortal Mountain's foundation is much stronger than ours. I'm afraid you won't be interested in our heavenly treasures and fine wines. Someone replied. It's okay. As long as you're willing to give it to me, I'll pack it up. Jiangchen smiled cheekily. When everyone heard this, how could this be? If they really agreed to give it to him, wouldn't they be lying if they didn't give it to him? No one would be able to lie to others in front of so many people. Young Master Jiangchen, why don't you join the sect first, watch the music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and then drink the fine wines? Someone came out to smooth things over. He didn't want to be entangled in the issue of packing. If he said something wrong and let it slip, he might be packed up by Jiangchen. Jiang Chen didn't refuse. He said to Qing Mu beside him, "Eat and drink as you like later. Don't stand on ceremony. They're all other people's food. It's a waste not to eat." "Okay." Qing Mu nodded and said very seriously. Then, under the lead of the crowd, Jiang Chen came to the side of a lake and sat on a bamboo raft on the lake. Next, it was the so-called music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. There were fairy-like beautiful women playing the zither. There were also people writing calligraphy, and there were also people painting. Of course, there was no need to say more. Anyway, Jiang Chen wasn't interested. "What did you say?" The Northern Region human list was updated again. Jiang Chen is ranked 19th. It can't be? Why didn't the Divine Secret Pavilion update it earlier? The banquet has already begun. Just as everyone was admiring the music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, a few people outside the array formation looked melancholic. This banquet was held to deal with Jiang Chen. That was why they had invited a genius ranked 20th on the human list of the North Field. But now, the Divine Secret Pavilion had updated the list again, and Jiang Chen's ranking had actually fallen to 19th. This? Wasn't the Divine Secret Pavilion tricking him? But now, where could she find another person ranked higher than Jiang Chen on the human list? If they couldn't find one, this banquet wouldn't be able to do anything to Jiang Chen. Is the Divine Secret Pavilion doing this on purpose? Why did they have to update the list at this time? Didn't they inform us in advance? The rankings can't be taken seriously. After all, it's just a ranking. The few of them comforted each other. At this moment, on the lake inside the array formation, ripples had appeared on the originally calm surface of the lake. The ripples grew larger and larger, and finally turned into a violent wave that slammed towards the bamboo raft that Jiang Chen was on. Open. Jiang Chen didn't care. He summoned the Emperor's vine, and the vines pierced into the lake's surface. The vines bloomed like a purplish gold flower bud, surrounding the bamboo raft and himself. The huge wave surged, but Jiang Chen's bamboo raft seemed to be fixed in place and didn't move an inch. Who's the one behind this? After a few breaths, the huge wave calmed down. Jiang Chen asked slowly as he stood up from the bamboo raft. Jiang Chen also understood that some things couldn't be avoided in this banquet since they dared to launch such a brazen sneak attack. However, this time, no one responded. Even the people from the various major sects remained silent. Obviously, they wanted to see Jiang Chen suffer. Very good. Jiang Chen joked. Since you like to play, I'll play with you. With that, Jiang Chen continued to sit down, narrowed his eyes, and drank the wine. A cool breeze blew, and the warm sun shone down. In a few breaths' time, Jiang Chen's expression calmed down, as if nothing had happened. However, no one knew that beside Jiang Chen, there were strands of array runes jumping. These were all hidden by him using the 10,000 transformations heavenly lamp. You want to play? Then let's play big. Jiang Chen thought to himself. He grinned at Qing Mu and said, Qing Mu, you have to hug me tightly later. Ah? This? You're my martial granduncle. If I hug you. This? Qing Mu blushed. It was obvious that she had misunderstood. Chapter 1466. Qing Mu usually looked carefree, but she was still very reserved when it came to matters of the heart between men and women. Jiang Chen rolled his eyes. He wondered to himself what this girl was thinking about. However, he couldn't say it out loud. He couldn't even send a voice transmission secretly. After all, there were many experts here, and if someone detected him while he was transmitting his holy awareness in secret, what Jiang Chen was going to do next would be in vain. Just hug me later, don't ask anything else. Jiang Chen's expression turned serious as he said rather seriously. Do you think Uncle Master will take advantage of you? Hearing this, Qing Mu tilted her head and shook her head. However, she thought to herself, you really can't say for sure. Young Master Jiang Chen, you've seen the zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. You've also tasted the fine wine. Then, it's time to get to the main topic, right? At this moment, an old man in a green robe stood up. The killing intent in his eyes was not concealed in the slightest. He was the vice-sect master of Verdant Mountain, and he hated Jiangchen to the bone. The death of a sect master of Verdant Mountain was a huge blow to Verdant Mountain. It might even fall from a first-rate sect to a second-rate sect. Now, he was thinking of a way to deal with Jiangchen. "Please speak," Jiangchen said with a smile, half lying on the bamboo raft, looking very leisurely. "For cultivators, the most important thing is naturally cultivation and combat strength," the vice-sect master of Verdant Mountain said. "I heard that your ranking on the northern region's human list is quite high. You're ranked 30th. This has nothing to do with me. It's the human list issued by the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion," Jiangchen said softly. "This is just a useless title. Everyone don't mind it. You don't care, but there are many geniuses present. Their cultivation is above yours, but their ranking is below yours. Do you think they will be convinced?" The person continued. "Oh? What does it have to do with me whether they are convinced or not?" Jiangchen asked back. When these words came out, this person was stunned for a moment. Thinking about it carefully, Jiangchen was right. What does it have to do with me? Young Lord Jiangchen, you should open the eyes of everyone present and show off your battle prowess. Otherwise, your reputation as a young lord would be undeserved, and the human list would be unfair. The person continued after a moment of silence. How could Jiangchen not know what the other party was thinking? Didn't they want to use this opportunity to defeat him and even kill him? Jiangchen was very calm in response to this. He continued to lay on the bamboo raft as he narrowed his eyes and said, "I'm old. I've lived for several eras, so it's no longer suitable for me to fight. Leave the current era to the youngsters. For someone like me who can become an old ancestor, it's best not to compete with the youngsters. You brat. Don't go overboard." At this moment, angry curses sounded from all around. Even the people who had lived for the longest time had ugly expressions on their faces. After all, Jiangchen was telling the truth. No one present was older than Jiangchen. After all, the era was different, and Jiangchen was born before these people by several eras. If it weren't for the fact that he had been reincarnating, he really could become an old ancestor. Of course, everyone knew about Jiangchen's seniority. But by saying it out loud, wasn't it an insult to them? Become an old ancestor? Whose old ancestor did you want to be? Young Lord Jiangchen, do you think that the sparring match is boring and you want to add a reward? The person frowned and took out an immortal jade. If you win, I will give you an immortal jade. What do you think? That's not very appropriate, is it? Jiangchen said in a weak voice, as if he was in a dilemma. He said, "There are so many people here. If I keep winning, the Verdant Mountain will go bankrupt." The vice leader of the Verdant Mountain rolled his eyes and wondered if Jiangchen was stupid. Since he dared to put up such a reward, it meant that he was confident that he could defeat Jiangchen. Now, all he had to do was for Jiangchen to nod his head. Young Lord Jiangchen, do you think that one immortal jade is too little? How about this? The fiery volcano will do the same as the Verdant Mountain. Just then, the leader of the fiery volcano stood out and put up the same reward as the Verdant Mountain. He then added, "Young Lord Jiangchen, you are merely of the immortal realm. You don't have an immortal jade yet, right? Now, this is a great opportunity to obtain the immortal jade." Upon hearing this, Jiangchen chuckled and extended his hand slowly. Then he waved his hand in front of him, and 9 different colored immortal jade appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The immortal fine jade contained divine abilities. It was a supreme treasure that could only be condensed when one became a true immortal. However, to control the immortal jade, one needs a lot of willpower. Therefore, under normal circumstances, a cultivator would only choose 1 immortal jade. At most, they would choose 3. For someone like Jiangchen, who had not even reached the immortal realm and had already created 9 immortal jades, it was really rare. Do you think I am someone who lacks immortal jade? Jiangchen said mockingly. A few generations ago, I had already created 9 immortal jades. 9 is the limit. My immortal jade is already full. I don't need any more. The moment everyone heard this, their expressions became unspeakably ugly. An immortal could actually control 9 immortal jades. How could those immortals live? I can agree to exchange pointers with you, but I can't accept the reward you offered me. Why don't you think about it again? Jiangchen teased them. You're a great first-class sect. Don't tell me the only thing you can offer me is the immortal fine jade? Isn't it too embarrassing? What do you want? The deputy leader of the Verdant Mountain was anxious. As long as Jiangchen dared to accept the challenge, he would kill Jiangchen no matter what. As for what Jiangchen wanted, he did not care. He would agree to it first. Do you have the Wuji stone? Jiangchen asked. When these words came out, everyone was a little confused. As everyone knew, after cultivating to the immortal realm, one would awaken attributes. Everyone could only awaken one attribute, absolutely not 2 at the same time. This was the order and rule of the Great Tao. However, if one had the Wuji stone, one could awaken multiple attributes, or even full attributes. It was said that a long time ago, someone used several pieces of the Wuji stone. In the end, not only did he awaken full attributes, he even obtained a special attribute. However, the Wuji stone was too rare. Even in a first-rate sect, it was very rare. As long as there was one, it was reserved for the most outstanding person in the sect, who had the hope of inheriting the sect's legacy in the future. Who would use this kind of thing as a reward? My Verdant Mountain has won! As long as you are willing to accept the challenge. The deputy leader of the Verdant Mountain was anxious. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to kill Jiangchen today. As long as he killed Jiangchen, the Verdant Mountain would be able to become the disciple of the 3 immortal kings. At that time, with the support of the 3 immortal kings, the North region would be nothing. The Verdant Mountain would reach the sky in one step. Moreover, even if they took out the Wuji stone, could Jiangchen take it away alive? My fiery volcano's foundation is not enough, forget it. You guys play. The leader of the fiery volcano was very calm and rejected directly. At the same time, he glanced at the deputy leader of the Verdant Mountain and thought to himself, this old man. If he loses, he will lose all of the Verdant Mountain's assets. Chapter 1467. The vice-sect master of Verdant Jade Mountain was confident that he could suppress Jiangchen. At this moment, even if he had to bet all his assets, he would do it. Jiangchen was overjoyed. This group of people did not know that a few generations ago, he could already fight across 2 realms. At this moment, Jiangchen flew down from the bamboo raft and held Qing Mu's hand with one hand. Don't leave me later. But, don't you want to fight with someone? It's not convenient to hold my hand like this, right? Qing Mu asked. It's fine. One hand is enough, Jiangchen said softly. The confident smile on his face was as bright as the sun. The vice-sect master of Verdant Jade Mountain could not wait any longer. The moment Jiangchen arrived, he waved his hand and a young man holding a blood-red longsword stepped out and stood 10 meters away from Jiangchen. Oh? Golden Immortal? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and looked at the vice-sect master of Verdant Jade Mountain mockingly. He asked, Do you think a Golden Immortal can deal with me? Humph! He is the number 1 person in the outer sect of the Sword King sect and the 20th on the human list of the North region. Wouldn't it be more than enough to deal with an immortal like you? The vice-sect master of Verdant Jade Mountain had a confident look on his face. He even reminded him, If you are crippled or killed, don't blame me. Of course. Although it's a spar, the sword has no eyes. Deaths and injuries are inevitable. Jiangchen nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, a sword light rose. The disciple of the Sword King sect attacked with his sword. It was like a blood-red dragon that charged straight at Jiangchen. The cultivation of the golden immortal realm erupted. He was like a god. With a sword in his hand, it was as if he owned the world. Jiang Chen chuckled. He held Qing Mu with one hand and slowly raised his other hand. An immortal jade appeared. Buzz! Accompanied by a tremor, the immortal jade rippled. The terrifying sword light that was like a blood dragon instantly disappeared under the ripples. This is his immortal jade divine ability, myriad transformations. In his era, he relied on this to suppress his peers. The Green Jade Mountain Vice Sect leader reminded. He had done some research on Jiangchen. Oh? You're saying this, as if I'm a cripple without this myriad transformations immortal jade. Jiangchen chuckled and raised his hand again. Another piece of immortal jade materialized. This time, it was as if mirrors had appeared around Jiangchen, and they reflected Jiangchen's figure. Then, Jiangchen stretched out his hand and a myriad change heavenly torches light swirled around him. A long sword appeared in his hand. Qi! At the next moment, Jiangchen waved the sharp sword in his hand, sending out waves of 10,000 transformations heavenly slashes. At the same time, the figures in the mirrors around him did the same thing as Jiangchen. In an instant, the 10,000 transformations heavenly slash was like a storm of blades, drowning the golden immortal. Only you have the immortal jade? Under the sky full of sword light, the Sword King's sect disciple shouted. Then, an immortal jade rose. In the immortal jade, a huge sword seemed to appear and fell from the sky, shattering the mirrors around Jiangchen. Even the 10,000 transformations heavenly slashes disappeared. Interesting, Jiangchen said softly. He thought that the person ranked 20th on the human list could not be underestimated. Of course, at that moment, Jiangchen didn't know he was already ranked 19 on the human list of the North Zone. I'm not playing with you anymore. At this moment, the Sword King's sect disciple formed a seal with one hand and held a sword with the other. Sword Qi spread out, and a huge sword shadow appeared behind him. The sword Qi filled the air, and the world lost its color. At this moment, the huge sword seemed to be the only thing in the world. You're not playing with me anymore? Shouldn't I be the one saying that to you? Jiangchen said disdainfully. Boom! The moment he finished speaking, the runes around Jiangchen suddenly exploded and an array formation was formed. Then, Jiangchen suddenly pressed his hand into the void. The tactical formation was activated instantly. A 5-colored radiance rose up. Then it turned into a rainbow and smashed the giant sword behind the Sword King's sect disciple. At the same time, the Sword King's sect disciple's body was shattered by the long rainbow. Even his soul was not left behind. Alas! Blades and swords don't have eyes. Jiangchen wore an ashamed look. He said, I accidentally killed a young genius. At this moment, the whole place was silent. No one expected the battle to end so quickly. No one expected that a golden immortal would die in an instant when Jiangchen used his array formation. Is it because the array formation is too powerful, or does he have such combat strength himself? It's too terrifying. That's a genius ranked 20th on the North Region human list. He's gone just like that. Facing the clamor around him, Jiangchen didn't think much of it. He stretched out a hand and waved it in front of the vice sect leader of Verdant Mountain. Wuji Stone. You set up the array formation beforehand? The vice sect leader of Verdant Mountain said in a deep voice. You're cheating. It doesn't count. It doesn't count? Heh. Jiangchen smiled contemptuously and said, Don't tell me that using a golden immortal to fight with an immortal like me isn't cheating? Do you want to be shameless? Of course, you shouldn't care about this now. You should care about yourself. The Sword King's sect disciple you called over is dead. You're also responsible. Do you think the Sword King's sect will blame it on me, or on you? Also, that Wuji stone is a treasure. Since you agreed, you have to take it out. A Sword King's sect disciple died and you lost a Wuji stone. Your life has come to an end. As he spoke, Jiangchen held Qing Mu's hand tighter and tighter. He knew that someone would not be able to hold it in. Next, perhaps there would be a storm, or perhaps everything would be fine. You killed him, what does it have to do with me? As for this Wuji stone, So what if I give it to you? The vice-sect leader of Verdant Mountain said in a deep voice. He really handed the Wuji stone to Jiangqin in front of everyone. I just don't know if you have the life to enjoy the Wuji stone. The vice-sect leader of Verdant Mountain's eyes were cold. The killing intent in the depths of his eyes could no longer be hidden. Jiangqin was not worried at first, but he suddenly had a feeling that since the sect leader of Verdant Mountain was too lazy to hide his killing intent, that meant Zhou Kunlun was unable to detect the situation here. However, even so, Jiangqin was still not worried. What? You want to kill me personally? It's a pity that you won't have the chance. Jiangqin teased. The array formation that he had set up earlier turned into a teleportation array. In the next moment, without waiting for the crowd to react, Jiangqin held Qing Mu's hand and rushed into the teleportation array. The two of them disappeared from this place. You want to run? How could the vice-sect leader of Verdant Mountain give up? He also hurriedly rushed into the teleportation array. As the light in front of him flickered, when he landed from the teleportation array, he did not look at the surrounding scenery and roared, Jiangqin, I'm going to kill you. However, after saying this, he saw the exclamations around him clearly. Immortal Qi lingered, immortal beasts flew, and 9 towering mountains stood tall. This place was the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Chapter 1468. The vice-faction leader of Verdant Mountain was dumbfounded. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect Jiangqin to be so treacherous. A teleportation portal had sent him directly to Kunlun's Celestial Mountain. Now that he was in someone else's territory, his life was no longer in his hands. Who dares to cause a ruckus in Kunlun's Celestial Mountain? Who is this person? It sounds like he wants to kill Jiangqin. Although all the mountain chieftains don't like him, to kill him in Kunlun's Celestial Mountain. Isn't this provoking Kunlun's Celestial Mountain? Around them, the disciples of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain were dumbfounded. Even the 9 mountain chieftains were confused. What the hell was going on? At this moment, Jiangqin ran to the 9th mountain and pushed open the door of the main hall. He pointed at the vice-faction leader of Verdant Mountain and said, Xian Yu, this guy wants to kill me. Oh. Xian Yu's face was cold as usual. She did not even speak much. However, she had at least responded to him. However, before Xian Yu could make a move, the mountain chieftains of the 1st mountain to the 8th mountain appeared. The 8 of them surrounded the vice-faction leader of Verdant Mountain. The 8 of them sized each other up. Their faces were filled with confusion. What was going on? Even the 3 celestial kings would not dare to challenge the authority of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain so openly. Everyone, I'm the vice-faction leader of Verdant Mountain. There's been a misunderstanding. The vice-faction leader of Verdant Mountain felt a chill down his spine. He quickly recounted what happened at the banquet. Of course, he did not say that he wanted to kill Jiangqin. However, when he arrived at Kunlun's Celestial Mountain, who did not hear that shout? Verdant Mountain? What's that? It should be a sect. I've never heard of it before. The mountain chieftains frowned. After all, they rarely went out. If they had nothing to do, they would not bother to understand a first-rate sect like Verdant Mountain. In the eyes of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain, unless it was a first-rate sect, they could not be bothered to interact with other sections. Mountain chieftains, this person has been trying to kill me ever since the banquet began. If I hadn't run fast enough, I'm afraid I would have lost my life. Jiangqin walked out from the main hall with tears streaming down his face. Xian Yu, who was standing by the side, rolled her eyes. How could she not know what kind of person Jiangqin was? The 1st mountain lord curled her lips. She knew very well what kind of people Jiangqin and Wan Qing were. They were absolutely carved from the same mold. These 2 people wouldn't stop until they had screwed the other person to death. Trespassing into our Kunlun Celestial Mountain and threatening to kill our young masters is a capital offense. The dignity of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain cannot be humiliated. In the end, the mountain chieftains unanimously decided to execute the Green Jade Mountain's vice-sect leader. Unsurprisingly, a vice-sect leader died in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain just like that. The Verdant Mountain was originally a first-rate sect, but because of a banquet, it caused the deaths of 2 sect leaders. Moreover, the cause of death was related to Jiangchen, and he even lost a Wuji stone. Even if the Verdant Mountain was not destroyed, it would be very difficult for them to rise again in the future. Why did you attend the banquet, kid? You came back with a lot of trouble. The first mountain lord said coldly. In front of everyone, his attitude towards Jiangchen was still very bad. After all, this show had to go on. They couldn't let others know that Wanqing was living a carefree life in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Jiangchen was also putting on an act. After talking back to the first mountain lord, he turned around and was about to return to the main hall of the 9th mountain. However, just as he was about to step into the hall, he seemed to have realized something and retracted his foot. Then, he walked over to the first mountain lord and shouted, "I want to see my father." Everyone was a little confused, especially the other mountain chieftains. They didn't know about Wanqing's current situation and thought that he was about to die. "You're not allowed to go." The 9th mountain lord raised his eyebrows and grabbed Jiangchen's shoulder, saying, "As the young lord, you should cultivate well. Go to the main hall and cultivate." Jiangchen's legs turned to jelly. How could he not know what Xianyu was thinking? At this moment, he looked at the other mountain chieftains with pleading eyes. However, facing the 9th mountain lord, Xianyu, the other mountain chieftains were really afraid. They acted as if they didn't see anything and walked away. Even the first mountain lord rolled his eyes and looked helpless. In the end, he also walked away. "That? You can break through to the Immortal King realm anytime. You don't have to worry about cultivation now," Jiangchen said weakly. He didn't want to enter the main hall even if he was beaten to death. However, in front of Xianyu's absolute power, Jiangchen was nothing. Like a little chick, he was dragged in by Xianyu. What happened next was naturally a romantic scene. Half a day later, Jiangchen walked out with a pale face. As he rubbed his waist, he muttered, "So cruel. If this goes on, I will die before I become an immortal king." "Senior granduncle, why do you have to rub your waist every time you come out of the main hall?" Qingmu asked curiously. He had been waiting outside the main hall. "Recently, something went wrong with my cultivation. My meridians are flowing in the opposite direction." Jiangchen lied through his teeth. He wondered if he should find a place to hide from Xianyu. If this went on, he would really become a cripple. Moreover, he had been in the immortal realm for some time. His foundation was already solid. It was time for him to break through. "No. It's only 1 Wuji stone." Jiangchen shook his head again. He didn't want to be a mediocre immortal. He planned to think of a way to get a few more Wuji stones. Only then would he have hope of awakening all his attributes. However, the Wuji stone was so precious. Who should he ask for it? "Let's go to the mountains and ask." Finally, Jiangchen came to the first mountain. After explaining the situation to Wanqing and the first mountain master was very polite. He gave Jiangchen 2 Wuji stones. As for more, he couldn't give him more. After all, this was a kind of treasure, not a cabbage. After that, Jiangchen went to a few other mountains. However, before he could go up, he was chased down. "Young master, don't come to me for no reason. I can't stand Xianyu's temper. Hurry up and leave. I don't want to see you." The attitude of the mountain masters was very clear. First, they didn't dare to confront Xianyu. Second, they really didn't want to see Jiangchen. Jiangchen was sullen. He sat at the foot of the 8th mountain with a dark face, thinking about how to get the Wuji stone. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Jiangchen's mind. They could hold a banquet in order to kill him. Then, what about the other way round? "Qingmu, help me send out an invitation. Say that I've set up a life and death arena outside Kunlun Mountain. Anyone who wants to kill me can come. However, the condition is, if the loser doesn't want to die, he has to pay a Wuji stone." Jiangchen blinked. Once the life and death arena was set up, the geniuses under the three immortal kings wouldn't be able to resist it, right? At that time, he should be able to make a lot of money. Chapter 1469. Qing Mu was a little dumbfounded. He had seen people who wanted to die, but he had never seen someone like Jiangchen. Wasn't it easy to die? Was there a need to send out an invitation? Uncle Master, if you send out an invitation and are really killed, Kunlun Immortal Mountain can't interfere, Qing Mu said worriedly. Your cultivation is a little low after all. If you meet those people in the top 10 of the human list, I'm afraid, besides, there's still the Earth list above the human list. If you meet those monsters. Facing Qing Mu's worry, Jiangchen smiled but didn't say anything. He only told Qing Mu to hurry up and prepare. Qing Mu nodded in agreement, but he was still worried. He secretly told Xian Yu about this matter. When Xian Yu heard this, her face darkened. She said unhappily, "This guy is just like his father. He's going to scam people again." "Ah? Master, can he really do it?" Qing Mu's face was filled with surprise. Looking at his master's appearance, he wasn't worried about Jiangchen, but about those who came to challenge him. Wasn't he too confident in Uncle Master? "You go and do it. I'll go and discuss it with the other mountain lords," Xian Yu said in a deep voice, feeling a little depressed. She wasn't worried about Jiangchen. She was worried that Jiangchen would make a big deal out of this. Once this invitation was sent out, those who came to challenge Jiangchen would definitely have to line up. Although the Wuji stone was rare, who didn't have one or two? "Hey, I'm asking for your opinion." A few breaths later, on the first mountain, Xian Yu called the other mountain lords over and explained in detail about Jiangchen's life and death arena. The other mountain lords had indifferent expressions. They secretly thought that if Jiangchen died, so be it. They didn't want to see him in the first place. However, the first mountain lord's expression was exceptionally serious. He said seriously, "Although we don't like him, he is still the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. He can also be considered the young master of our Kunlun Immortal Mountain. If he wants to set up a life and death arena, he naturally has to hold on to this card." As he spoke, the first mountain lord thought for a moment, then took out a piece of Wuji stone and said, "If he loses, this piece of Wuji stone can save his life. As the first mountain lord, I shall set an example and give him a piece of Wuji stone." As soon as he said that, the other mountain chieftains were dumbfounded. After all, in the eyes of those who didn't know the truth, the first mountain lord disliked Jiangchen the most. He even wanted to kill Jiangchen. So why was the first mountain lord helping Jiangchen this time? However, the first mountain lord's words made a lot of sense. If Jiangchen died, it wouldn't matter. However, the Kunlun Celestial Mountain's reputation would be tarnished. For a super sect, face was more important than anything else. Since the lord of the first mountain has made his stance clear, we will naturally have to comply. My second mountain will also offer a piece of Wuji stone. The third mountain also has one. In the end, the 9 mountain masters each took out another Wuji stone. Out of the 3 of them, only Xian Yu and the first mountain lord remained. "You old demon, did Wan Qing teach you to do this?" Xian Yu stared at the first mountain lord. She wouldn't give him any face. The first mountain lord wasn't angry. Instead, he joked, "Control yourself. Don't break him, you. Shameless." Xian Yu's face instantly turned red. After glaring at the first mountain lord, she left on a cloud. Not long after, someone delivered the 9 pieces of Wuji stones to Jiangchen. Moreover, a large group of people carried the array stones, green stone slabs, and other miscellaneous items out of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He ran up and asked, "What are you all doing?" "We're going to build a tomb for you," one of the young people blurted out without thinking. This made the others' expressions change drastically. Someone hurriedly explained, "The first mountain lord gave the order for us to build an arena for you." He also said that you're now a member of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. If you want to build an arena, you can't lose face. Look, these are all heavenly treasures, immortal gold, jade, and stones. If you use them to build an arena, you'll gain face. Jiangchen blinked and pondered for a while. He knew that this was most likely his father's arrangement. It seemed that his father at home knew him best. Time passed slowly. 3 days had passed since the invitation was sent out. In these 3 days, the area outside the Kunlun Celestial Mountain was bustling with activity. All the cultivators below the heavenly immortal realm from the major sects in the north region had come. Some came to watch the battle. Some came to challenge Jiangchen. Even people from other regions had come. They didn't hesitate to activate the cross-realm teleportation formation. They wanted to see the so-called young master of the 10,000 Mounts Celestial Sect with their own eyes. In these 3 days, Jiangchen didn't do anything. He ate and drank every day. Sometimes, he would be caught by Xianyu for dual cultivation. His days were quite happy. Soon, the 4th day arrived. The area outside the Kunlun Celestial Mountain was bustling with activity. Someone couldn't wait any longer. He threw a Wuji stone on the arena and announced that he wanted to challenge Jiangchen. There were also people standing at the entrance of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and shouting. There were also people who used words to mock and insult Jiangchen. Everyone, since you're so enthusiastic, I'll start the life and death arena in advance. On this day, Jiangchen walked out of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain alone. He had specially dressed up. He wore a white robe and held a folding fan in his hand. He looked like a handsome scholar. However, as soon as Jiangchen showed up, a wave of shouts and curses could be heard. After all, the people who came here were not ordinary people. But they had waited for Jiangchen outside the Kunlun Celestial Mountain for 4 days. Don't they have any face? Come, if you want to challenge me, take a look at the Wuji stone first. If you don't have the Wuji stone, once you're defeated, you'll die. Good men, you must think carefully. As Jiangchen spoke, he walked into the arena. Kid, you're dead meat today. A golden immortal had been waiting for a long time. Before Jiangchen could speak, a water swamp appeared. It was like a water qilin, and it rushed toward Jiangchen. Jiangchen chuckled and used the 10,000 transformations heavenly slash. A sword ray swept across the sky. Not only did it cut the water swamp, but it also cut the opponent in half. Then, Jiangchen took a step forward and rushed to the front of the young man like a ghost. Seeing that Jiangchen's sword was about to fall, Jiangchen suddenly stopped, as if he was blocked by something. The young man seized the opportunity and attacked Jiangchen with a sharp blade made of water, which sent Jiangchen flying. Wait. I admit defeat. At this moment, Jiangchen's face turned pale. He hurriedly took out a Wuji stone and threw it over, saying, According to the rules I set, I can avoid death if I give you a Wuji stone. Humph. I thought you were powerful, but you're just SOSO. The young man's face was full of disdain. Although he couldn't kill Jiangchen, he had earned a Wuji stone. That was enough for him. This kid is really shameless. He lost to his opponent on purpose. What is he trying to do? In the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, Xianyu saw everything. Suddenly, she had a bad feeling. It seemed like Jiangchen was going to do something big. Chapter 1470. Jiangchen had sent out invitations and set up a life and death arena. This made many people suspicious. Could it be that this declining young sect leader of the 10,000 Creations Celestial Sect was really that strong? However, after this first battle, many people thought that Jiangchen was just a little famous. As for his strength, it was just that. Everyone, please wait for a moment. Let me rest for a while. I, Jiangchen, never admit defeat. Jiangchen looked serious. Dragging his injured body, he walked slowly to the gate of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Then he sat down with his legs crossed. It looked like he was really adjusting his breath to heal his injuries. However, Xian Yu, who was standing behind the light screen in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, could not take it anymore. With his cultivation, he could see clearly that Jiang Chen was not injured at all. That lively and energetic appearance. What are you going to do? There are so many people here today, and there are even people from other regions. Keep a low profile, Xian Yu reminded him. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Jiang Chen sent a telepathic message secretly, with a hint of mockery. After the time it takes to burn an incense stick, Jiang Chen got up and walked into the arena again. This time, he faced another golden celestial. After a tough battle, Jiang Chen lost, and handed over another Wuji stone. Everyone was overjoyed. With such strength, he still set up a life and death arena? Isn't he just here to give away money? It's my turn next! It's my turn! Line up! Many people were excited. After all, even if they could not kill Jiang Chen, they could still get a Wuji stone. This was such a good thing, they would definitely fight for it. As for Jiang Chen, after his narrow defeat, he adjusted his breath to heal his injuries again. Soon, he went back into the ring. This time, Jiang Chen met a genius in the 9th stage of the Golden Celestial Realm. After another tough battle, Jiang Chen lost, again. Ha! This kid is too weak. He gave away 3 Wuji stones. This kid has a lot of treasures on him. Whoever goes into the arena will earn. It's just that there are too many people in the queue. It's not our turn. Just as Jiang Chen was recuperating and everyone was sighing, a black-clothed youth appeared. He casually walked in front of the crowd and waved his hand. Celestial jades the size of a small mountain fell in front of everyone's eyes. There were also more than 10 limitless stones. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the representative of Haotian Casino. Today, I see that there is a place for gambling. What do you think? The youth said. He pointed at the immortal jade and limitless stone in front of him, saying, The odds are fair, as long as everyone dares to place their bets. My vast heaven casino has plenty of money. Immortal jades were the hard currency of the immortal world. As long as one had enough immortal jades, they could even buy limitless stones. Moreover, as the black-robed young man spoke, he took out several small mountains of celestial jade to show off his wealth. All of a sudden, many people became interested. Although no one had heard of Haotian Casino, no one doubted the young man's generosity. Fellow Taoists, how do you want to bet? Someone asked. It's simple, it's just a bet. Those who bet on Jiang Chen, the odds are 1 to 10, and those who bet on the challenger, the odds are 1 to 3. The black-robed young man said seriously. As you can see, this so-called young master of the 10,000 creations celestial sect is only SOSO. Why don't you take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune? Of course, my vast heaven casino is gambling. If Jiang Chen can win a few rounds, my vast heaven casino will not lose, and will even make a profit. The black-robed young man was very honest. After all, Jiang Chen's odds were 1 to 10. As long as Jiang Chen won 1 round, according to the odds, it was equivalent to winning 3 rounds. Is this a scam? This kind of odds? Isn't it obvious that they are here to give away money? Some people were puzzled and did not place their bets immediately. However, with so many people around, it was inevitable that some people were rich and overbearing. More than 10 people walked over, took out a lot of immortal jades, and placed their bets on the challenger. After all, in the eyes of many people, Jiang Chen had lost all 3 rounds. He was indeed too weak. Is there anyone else who wants to place their bets? I see that Jiang Chen's healing is almost done. When he enters the arena, this bet will be closed, the black-robed young man said. As soon as these words came out, there were naturally people who were anxious. They hurried over and bet a lot of immortal jades. Not long after, Jiang Chen finished healing again and walked into the arena. This time, I, Jiang Chen, will not lose again. I want to let you all know that the young master of the 10,000 creations celestial sect is not weaker than anyone. Jiang Chen's momentum was high. However, no one thought that Jiang Chen would win. After all, he had lost 3 times in a row. Next, another fierce battle began. Similarly, he was facing a golden immortal genius. This time, Jiangqin did not even last 50 rounds and was defeated. Moreover, he paid a Wuji stone. He has fought consecutively. His injuries must not be completely healed. Hey, if this goes on, he is destined to die in the arena. Many people became excited. They looked at the black-robed young man and asked, "Are you still going to place your bets?" "Of course, as long as Jiangqin enters the arena, I will place my bets," the black-robed young man said seriously. "My vast heaven casino is like this. Unless there is nothing left to bet, we will continue to place our bets. My vast heaven casino is rich. Just play." Hee, I'm afraid the vast heaven casino will lose miserably today. At this moment, a large group of people swarmed forward and bet on the challenger. This time, there were more than 1,000,000 immortal jades bet, and even a Wuji stone was bet. Hey, this is more than 1,000,000 immortal jades and a Wuji stone. This time you should win, right? If you don't win, my Moon God clan's treasury will be emptied. The black-robed young man's expression was calm, but he was secretly communicating with Jiangqin. That's right, this black-robed young man was Yi in disguise. What are you afraid of? It's just more than 1,000,000 immortal jades and a Wuji stone, Jiangqin said snappily. Don't worry, my unscrupulous father is definitely watching. When you don't have enough immortal jades and Wuji stones, someone will naturally send them over. Then you mean, you still want to lose? Yi could not remain calm. Of course I want to play big. If I don't drag these people down with me, why would I set up this life and death arena? Jiangqin joked. Next, Jiangqin went on to fight one after another, but the results were the same. He was defeated every time. After 5 matches in a row, Yuye's heart was shattered. Because more and more people were placing their bets on the limitless stone, the Moon God clan suffered a complete loss after losing 5 matches in a row. Fortunately, at this moment, a middle-aged man in a black robe appeared. With a wave of his hand, tens of millions of immortal jades and more than 20 Wuji stones appeared in front of everyone. Everyone, I am also a member of the Vast Heaven Casino. Feel free to place your bets. My Vast Heaven Casino is rich. The black-robed middle-aged man's tone was very arrogant, but his actions were also very generous. Naturally, everyone was convinced. Chapter 1471. When Jiangqin saw this black-robed middle-aged man, the corners of his mouth could not help but twitch. He knew that his father would definitely help him, but he did not expect that this old man would personally come. Looking at those Wuji stones and immortal jades, Jiangqin could guess that these were the treasures left behind by the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. After all, it was impossible for the Kunlun Immortal Sect to take out so many things for him. Father, you really know how to cheat me. If I had known that there were so many Wuji stones at home, I wouldn't have set up this life and death arena. Jiangqin felt bitter in his heart, secretly thinking that his father was really a cheat. At this moment, the surrounding people became excited. One by one, they rushed over like crazy and bet on the challenger. Some even bet all their wealth. Puff! At the same time, Jiangqin's face turned pale. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and the aura on his body became even more dispirited. When the crowd saw Jiangqin's state, those who were still hesitating directly bet. In just a dozen breaths of time, almost all the people present had bet. Just the number of Wuji stones alone was more than 60. Everyone, my injuries are not light. I can only fight the last battle. Jiangqin sighed, at the same time took out a Wuji stone and said, I only have 1 Wuji stone left. After this battle, this arena will be cancelled. Kid, hurry up. Don't hinder us from making money. Hurry up and go to the arena. Everyone was anxious, they had all bet, but they were afraid that Jiangqin would leave. Once Jiangqin did not go to the arena, it would be tantamount to a failed round. Sirs, I set up the life and death arena today just to inform you that the 10,000 Mounts Immortal School's young master has come back, Jiangqin said solemnly. However, Xian Yu's face was as black as ink in the Kunlun immortal sect. She knew that this time Jiang Chen was going to cheat this group of people. This is equivalent to offending half of the sects in the northern region, and even a few sects in other regions. Xian Yu smiled bitterly. This was a huge pressure for the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. At this moment, Jiang Chen dragged his injured body and shakily walked up to the ring. The moment he stepped onto the arena, a 9th-level Golden Immortal Realm genius rushed up to him. His eyes were filled with greed, and he attacked without saying a word. However, what no one expected was that Jiang Chen also made a move this time. A wisp of flame burned brightly and a beam of sword light swept across the sky. In the blink of an eye, the genius was sliced in half at the waist. Then, he was kicked out of the arena by Jiang Chen. "Take the money! Let's go!" At this moment, Jiang Chen didn't look injured at all. With a loud shout, Wan Cheng and Yi both rolled up their chips and ran away like a wisp of smoke. As for Jiang Chen, he didn't say much. He waved at the crowd and ran back to the Kunlun Immortal Sect. For a moment, the crowd couldn't react. The money was gone. After a few breaths, someone roared, "You F** king tricked me! What the F** CK? I was tricked!" At this moment, outside the Kunlun Immortal Sect, there were people who couldn't help but want to attack the Kunlun Immortal Sect. Fortunately, this group of people was still rational. Although they knew that the Kunlun Immortal Sect was not to be trifled with, they were still very unhappy. Especially those who had bet all their money, they couldn't take this blow. Their eyes rolled back and they fainted on the spot. "Oh my God! What did this guy do? He tricked us all! My immortal jade! My Wuji stone! It's over! This is a huge loss! How can I explain this to the sect?" In the end, someone suggested that they send someone to the Kunlun Immortal Sect to discuss with the Mountain Masters to see if they could get their money back. On the surface, Jiang Chen was a member of the Kunlun Immortal Sect, and the incident happened outside the Kunlun Immortal Sect. Naturally, the Kunlun Immortal Sect had to give everyone an explanation. Soon, the 9 Mountain Masters appeared and gathered in the square of the Kunlun Immortal Sect. At the same time, they let the people outside in. "9 Mountain Masters, Jiang Chen tricked us and tricked us of our money. This matter, you have to make a decision. That kid tricked us. He deliberately set us up." This group of people had just entered and was already shouting endlessly. Regarding this, the 9 Mountain Masters looked at each other, as if they were at a loss. May I ask, how did he trick you?" the 8th Mountain Master asked. "He set up the life and death arena and kept faking his loss. We even bet all our money." "That's right. This kind of person has no morals. Looking at his skillful methods, he must be a repeat offender." "Yes. A repeat offender." The group of people talked at once about what had happened, and their gazes fell on the 9 Mountain Masters. How could the 9 Mountain Masters not know about this matter? But at this moment, they pretended not to know. "Then, why did you bet? Who started the bet? Who forced you to bet?" Xian Yu's face was frosty as she asked. "How would we know that this was a trap?" "Yes. And that casino called Houtian Casino, is it from the Kunlun Immortal Sect?" When Xian Yu heard this, her face became even colder. Her celestial aura exploded as she stared at the few people who were talking and said coldly, "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. Kunlun Immortal Sect has never opened a casino. If you dare to speak nonsense again and humiliate the reputation of Kunlun Immortal Sect, you will stay here forever. A celestial duke was second only to a celestial king. Even a first-rate sect might not have a celestial duke." In Kunlun Immortal Sect, the 9 Mountain Masters were all celestial dukes. At this moment, the crowd finally realized that in the face of absolute power, there was no need to talk about reason. "Then the 9 Mountain Masters mean?" someone asked. "Go find the one who tricked you. As for the Houtian Casino, Kunlun Immortal Sect knows nothing about it. Every debt has its perpetrator, and every injustice has its debtor. The first mountain master was very majestic. After a few scoldings, a few people retreated and left Kunlun Immortal Sect without saying a word. When some people retreated, there were naturally others who followed suit. In just a few breaths, most of the people had left. They knew very well that if they had not been blinded by greed, they would not have been tricked so badly by Jiangchen. However, there were still some people who stayed. All of them looked calm and fearless. Obviously, those who stayed were from powerful sections. Perhaps they were not as strong as Kunlun Immortal Sect, but they were not afraid. Lords of the 9 Great Mountains, I'm from the Cloud Sect of the North Zone. I hope you can give us an explanation for Jiangchen's scheme, a youngster said. He didn't even salute them. He just spoke calmly and elegantly. Cloud Sect? That's a little tricky. What should we do? Cloud Sect belongs to Celestial King Xianjun. It can be said that they are relatives of Celestial King Xianjun. The 9 mountain masters discussed in secret. In the end, the first mountain master spoke. His eyes were cold as he said, "Even the Cloud Sect leader would not dare to say that. Are you questioning Kunlun Immortal Sect?" Chapter 1472. The Cloud Sect was indeed very strong, but it was mainly because they had the backing of Immortal King Xianjun. However, to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, so what if there were 3 Celestial Kings? If the 3 Immortal Kings dared to destroy the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, they would have done so several eras ago. How could they let the Kunlun Celestial Mountain remain until now? Nowadays, the people of the world only knew that the immortal world was ruled by the 3 great immortal kings. They didn't know that there were some special sects that didn't fear them. This disciple of the Cloud Sect was truly daring. Or perhaps, under the protection of Immortal King Xianjun, he had forgotten his roots. In the end, he was just a disciple of the Cloud Sect. A mere disciple dared to question the 9th Mountain Lord of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain? Even if the sect leader of the Cloud Sect was here, he wouldn't dare to say such words. At this moment, the disciple of the Cloud Sect was scared stiff. His face was pale as a sheet. Facing the reprimand of the first mountain master, he could not say a single word for a long time. "First Mountain Lord, children may be immature, but are you immature as well?" At this moment, an elderly man walked over and stood before the disciples of the Cloud Sect. Stroking his white beard, his eyes flashed with a cold glint. He stared at the first mountain lord and said slowly, "We just want an explanation. Don't the 9 great mountain lords care about this? Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. Jiangchen cheated you guys. Go and look for him." The first mountain lord coldly said, "Why did you come to my Kunlun Immortal Mountain to cause trouble?" "Oh? The first mountain chieftain sure has a big temper." The old man raised his brows, and then he withdrew a jade seal. Shockingly, the words Xianjun were written at the bottom of the jade seal. "This is Immortal King Xianjun's jade seal. Seeing this jade seal is like seeing Immortal King Xianjun himself." At that moment, the elder's aura skyrocketed. Although his cultivation level was not as high as the 9 mountain lords, with the imperial jade seal, he was full of confidence. Unfortunately, he would never have thought that the 9 great mountain masters would be completely unmoved after seeing the imperial jade seal. What kind of joke was this? Even if the true bodies of the 3 celestial kings came, it would still be difficult to intimidate the 9 mountain masters, let alone a mere imperial jade seal. It seems that our Kunlun Celestial Mountain has not taken action for a long time, so the world has forgotten the majesty of our Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Xianyu was very direct. She pushed out her fair palm, and not only did she send the old man flying, she even shattered the imperial jade seal. This scene indeed caused the other mountain lords to be somewhat astonished. Although he was not afraid of the 3 great immortal kings, destroying the jade seal that represented Immortal King Xianjun, wasn't that slapping Immortal King Xianjun's face? "Xianyu, you've gone too far!" At this moment, an angry voice came from the sky. Then, a figure shrouded in immortal chi appeared. Beneath his feet, the immortal Tao floated up and down. Around him, all sorts of phenomena appeared. When his eyes opened and closed, it was as if the universe was rotating. In the blink of an eye, the sun and moon were annihilated. Greetings, immortal King Xianjun! Greetings, immortal King Xianjun! At this moment, many people knelt down, their faces full of respect and reverence. Only the people of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain looked indifferent. Even the most inferior disciples of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain straightened their backs and remained unmoved. This was because everyone in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain knew that the Kunlun Celestial Mountain was not afraid of the three celestial kings. Sometimes, the three celestial kings even had to give face to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Immortal King Xianjun, look after your dog. Don't come to my Kunlun Celestial Mountain and behave atrociously. Xianyu was very direct, not giving Immortal King Xianjun any face. Immortal King Xianjun did not say anything. Perhaps it was because he had witnessed too many things, his state of mind had become very stable. However, there were some things that he still had to say. That Imperial Jade Seal represents me. What do you mean by destroying that Jade Seal? We three Celestial Kings give face to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, but you don't have to give face to us three Celestial Kings? Immortal King Xianjun said. I know what happened today. Why don't you expel Jiangchen from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain? Who are you to interfere in how the disciples of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain are dealt with? Xianyu raised her eyebrows and wanted to continue speaking, but she was stopped by the first Mountain Lord. Of course we have to give face to the three Celestial Kings, but Immortal King Xianjun should also know that the celestial world is so big, and there are many evil people. If our young master is expelled from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and is harmed by evil people, what should we do? The first Mountain Lord asked. When everyone heard this, they could not help but roll their eyes. Even Jiangchen, who was standing in the distance, had a strange expression when he heard this. Many evil people? I'll be harmed by evil people. I say. Do you think I'm a good person? It's good enough that I don't harm others. You are not allowed to take back the immortal jades and Wuji stones that he cheated. The two realms and the 1,000-year agreement will continue, but he must leave the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Immortal King Xianjun's tone became heavier and heavier. It was obvious that he had made up his mind to not let Jiangchen stay in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. If Jiangchen stayed in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, then as long as he did not leave, no one could kill Jiangchen. If Jiangchen left the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, although there were two realms and a 1,000-year agreement, there would still be a chance. The celestial world was so big, and geniuses were everywhere. There would always be a few people who could fight against Jiangchen, or even kill him. And this was Immortal King Xianjun's idea. All right. Don't you just want me to leave the Kunlun Celestial Mountain? I agree. Jiangchen could not listen anymore. He walked over and looked up at Immortal King Xianjun. He asked very seriously, Are you sure you don't want to take back the immortal jades and Wuji stones? Of course. Immortal King Xianjun nodded and said, But you have to leave the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and give everyone an explanation. Okay, I'll leave now. Jiangchen nodded and waved at Xianyu and the others. Then, without another word, he turned and rushed out of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Seeing Jiangchen leave in a hurry, the 9 mountain masters were stunned. Those who came to ask for an explanation were also stunned. Even Immortal King Xianjun was stunned. Everyone was stunned. This kid. What's going on? Xianyu frowned. Before she could figure it out, she saw Qing Mu running over from afar. Master, this is bad. Uncle Master took away all the treasures in the 9th Mountain's treasury. Qing Mu shouted. When Xianyu heard this, she almost lost her balance. A few breaths later, the people from the other mountains also came. They all reported the same thing, that Jiangchen had ransacked their treasury. Of course, he didn't take any cultivation techniques, but he took all the immortal jades and Wuji stones. No wonder this kid ran so fast. Chase. Brat! Do you think you can run away? At this moment, the 9 mountain masters exploded with anger. They were here to block immortal King Xianjun for Jiangqin, but Jiangqin, that little bastard, had already planned this. However, when they rushed out of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, there was no sign of Jiangqin. Even if they wanted to track down Jiangqin's aura, it would be difficult to find it under the 10,000 transformations heavenly lamp. Maybe I don't need to say anything. The Kunlun Celestial Mountain can expel Jiangqin. Immortal King Xianjun's face was in a mess. After muttering, he disappeared. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.